besides this is obviously going to be, you want to know what really happened, you need to watch this. This is the only place you're going to get this type of interview or I don't really know what this is, but I didn't do it. I'm innocent, Judge. Not guilty. I'm innocent.
We, the jury, being duly impaneled and sworn, find the defendant, Matthew L. Moore, not guilty of murder, as he stands charged in count 1 of the indictment.
Oh, how are we doing, people? Hope you're all well out there. Josie, hello, my darling. How are we doing? Hi, Robin. How are we doing, Robin? I think Robin G, you're a woman. We'll call you darling. I call everyone darlings. How are we doing, Robin? Hope you're well. Mexi Taxi, how are we doing? Join the alternate corner community, absolutely. Or follow me on Twitter. Happy days. Where are you from, Robin? What a guess that was. What a guess. Robin, female, from United States. I have no idea. But hope you're well, Robin. Thanks for joining us. This is what we see. This is what's going on. So there's nothing yet. So don't worry, guys. Nothing we're missing. New Bedford, Massachusetts. I should say that. Nice. So welcome to you, Robin. Always good to see you. There's a few Robins I've seen around. I'm not sure if you're new or if you have been here before. I know a few Robins have been in here. So, as I say, this is a new trial we got, guys. Really excited. Want to show the love. Want to show the love and appreciation for the alternate corner community. Consider support the channel, PayPal, or buy me coffee. Absolutely never required, always appreciated. Fine. I have been before. Oh, there we are. There's a few Robins. There's about 2 or 3 now that Robin spell the Robin like you spell your name. So forgive me about that. It's just, as I say, I'm a little bit slow. There we are. Good on you. Well, I'm not sure if you're a trial watcher at all, but this is a good segue into Karen Read. This should take about, they say, between everything, about 8 days of testimony. Jesus, hang on. This is live. Good practice before Karen Read, just to get into it. So we should finish this just before Karen Read starts. It looks like we're live.
Yeah, that's sure. All right, please be seated. All right, members of the jury, good afternoon. Welcome back. The first order of business is to administer the jury oath. So I'm going to ask you to stand one more time, raise your right hand, and the clerk will administer the oath.
Do you swear that you will well and truly try the issue joined to the matter announced by the court, and unless discharged by the court, a true verdict given according to the law and to the evidence given in court? So help you God.
Please have a seat. All right. Members of the jury, before the trial begins, there are certain instructions you should have to better understand your functions as a juror and how you should conduct yourself during the trial. I am going to read these instructions aloud. I've also published them on the monitors, so you are welcome to follow along if you'd like. Your duty is to decide the case based only on the evidence presented at trial and the law given to you by the court. Anything you may see or hear outside the courtroom is not evidence. All people deserve fair treatment in our system of justice, regardless of their race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. People make assumptions and form opinions from their own personal backgrounds and experiences. Generally, we are aware of these things, but you should consider the possibility that you have biases of which you may not be aware, which can affect how you evaluate information and make decisions. You must carefully evaluate the evidence and resist any urge to reach a verdict that is influenced by any bias for or against any party, witness, or attorney. Personal opinions, preferences, or biases have no place in a courtroom, where our goal is to treat all parties equally and to arrive at a just and proper verdict based on the evidence. Do not begin your deliberations and discussion of the case until all of the evidence is presented and I have instructed you on the law. Do not discuss this case among yourselves or with anyone else until your final deliberations in the jury room. This order is not limited to face-to-face conversations. It also extends to all forms of electronic communications. Do not use any electronic devices, such as a mobile phone or computer, text or instant messaging, or social networking sites, to send or receive any information about this case or your experience as a juror. But we will stop or recess from time to time during the trial. You may be excused from the courtroom when it is necessary for me to hear legal arguments from the lawyers. If you come in contact with the parties, lawyers, or witnesses, do not speak with them. For their part, the parties, lawyers, and witnesses will not contact or speak with the jurors. Do not listen to any conversation about this case. Do not research any information that you personally think might be helpful to you in understanding the issues presented. Do not investigate this case on your own or visit the scene either in person or by any electronic means. Do not read any newspaper information regarding the public records of any party or witness in this case. Any information you obtain outside the courtroom could be misleading, inaccurate, or incomplete. Relying on this information is unfair because the parties would not have the opportunity to refute, explain, or correct it. Do not communicate with anyone about this trial or your experience as a juror while you are serving on this jury. Do not use a computer, cell phone, or other electronic device, including personal wearable electronics, applications, or tools with communication capabilities, to share any information about this case. For example, do not communicate by telephone, blog post, email, text message, instant message, social media post, or in any other way on or off the computer. Do not permit anyone to communicate with you about this matter, either in person, electronically, or by other means. If anyone does, despite your telling them not to, you should report that to me. I appreciate that it is tempting when you go home in the evening to discuss this case with other members of your household, but you may not do so. This case must be decided by you, the jurors, based on the evidence presented in the courtroom. People not serving on this jury have not heard the evidence, and it is improper for them to influence your deliberations and decision in this case. After this trial is completed, you are free to communicate with anyone in any manner. These rules are intended to assure that jurors remain impartial throughout the trial. If any juror has reason to believe that another juror has violated these rules, you should report that to me. If jurors do not comply with these rules, it could result in a new trial involving additional time and significant expense to the parties and the taxpayers. You are to decide the case solely on the evidence offered and received at trial. Evidence is, first, the sworn testimony of witnesses, both on direct and cross-examination, regardless of who called the witness. Second, the exhibits the court has received, whether or not an exhibit goes to the jury room. Third, any facts to which the lawyers have agreed or stipulated, or which the court has directed you to find. It is not necessary that every fact be proved directly by a witness or an exhibit. A fact may be proved indirectly by circumstantial evidence. Circumstantial evidence is evidence from which a jury may logically find other facts according to common knowledge and experience. Circumstantial evidence is not necessarily better or worse than direct evidence. Either type of evidence can prove a fact. Attorneys for each side have the duty and the right to object to what they consider are improper questions asked of witnesses and to the admission of other evidence which they believe is not properly admissible. You should not draw any conclusions from the fact an objection was made. By allowing testimony or other evidence to be received over the objection of counsel, the court is not indicating any opinion about the evidence. You, the jurors, are the judges of the credibility of the witnesses and the weight of the evidence. You are not required to, but you may take notes during this trial, except during the opening statements and the closing arguments. The court will provide you with materials. In taking notes, you must be careful that it does not distract you from carefully listening to and observing the witnesses. You may rely on your notes to refresh your memory during your deliberations. Otherwise, keep them confidential. After the trial, the notes will be collected and destroyed. You will not have a copy of the written transcript of the trial testimony available for use during your deliberations. Therefore, you should pay careful attention to all of the testimony because you must rely primarily on your memory of the evidence and the testimony introduced during the trial. It is the duty of the jury to scrutinize and to weigh the testimony of witnesses and to determine the effect of the evidence as a whole. You are the sole judges of the credibility, that is, the believability, of the witnesses and of the weight to be given to their testimony. In determining the credibility of each witness and the weight you give to the testimony of each witness, consider these factors. Whether the witness has an interest or lack of interest in the result of this trial, the witness's conduct, appearance, and demeanor on the witness stand, the clearness or lack of clearness of the witness's recollections, the opportunity the witness had for observing and for knowing the matters the witness testified about, the reasonableness of the witness's testimony, the apparent intelligence of the witness, bias or prejudice, if any has been shown, possible motives for falsifying testimony, and all other facts and circumstances during the trial which tend either to support or to discredit the testimony. Then give to the testimony of each witness the weight you believe it should receive. In your determination of credibility, you must avoid any and all bias based on a witness's race, national origin, religion, age, ability, gender identity, sexual orientation, education, income level, or any other personal characteristic. There is no magic way for you to evaluate the testimony. Instead, you should use your common sense and experience. In everyday life, you determine for yourselves the reliability of things people say to you, and you should do the same thing here. The state has charged Mr. Mew with 6 crimes that allegedly happened in St. Croix County, Wisconsin on July 30, 2022. In count 1, first-degree intentional homicide. In counts 2 through 5, attempted first-degree intentional homicide. In count 6, battery. Mr. Mew has pled not guilty to all charges. He alleges that he acted in self-defense. Mr. Mew is not required to prove his innocence. The law presumes every person charged with the commission of an offense to be innocent. This presumption requires a finding of not guilty unless in your deliberations you find it is overcome by evidence which satisfies you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Mew is guilty. The burden of establishing every fact necessary to constitute guilt is upon the state. Before you can return a verdict of guilty, the evidence must satisfy you beyond a reasonable doubt that Mr. Mew is guilty. Because the state has the burden of proof the state is allowed to present its evidence first. When the state has completed its evidence, Mr. Mew may, but is not required to, present evidence. If he presents any evidence, the state is allowed to present evidence in response to that, called rebuttal evidence. We've now reached the stage where the attorneys will deliver their opening statements. The purpose of an opening statement is to give the lawyers an opportunity to tell you what they expect the evidence will show, so that you will better understand the evidence as it is introduced during the trial. I must caution you, however, that the opening statements are not evidence. First, we'll hear from the state, then we'll probably take a short recess, and then we'll hear from the defense. Mr. Anderson.
Hi, Lisa. Right. Right, just going to swap screens. 2 seconds. I got it all ready. Which one is it? Not that one. Bear with me. See, they're not started. Didn't miss anything. Didn't miss anything. Hi, Lisa. Also, thank you, Shelley, again, for becoming a member through Buy Me Coffee. Thank you, Shelley. You can join Discord through the link on Buy Me Coffee. So thank you for becoming a member, Shelley. I will give you credit in a second. Once I can get everything on screen. I didn't expect the trial to start right now. So here we go. Oh, Alicia, you should have. We covered it this morning. It's a self-defense.
Senseless and horrific acts of violence when all Nikolai had to do was walk away. That's what you're going to see in this case. You'll see he eventually did walk away, but not until after stabbing 5 people. As Judge Waterman said, my name is Carl Anderson. My co-counsel, Brian Smestad, and I represent the state of Wisconsin in this case. It's our duty to prove beyond a reasonable doubt that Nikolai Mew is guilty of all charges. You're going to hear in this trial that Nikolai said it was self-defense. But there's a video of what happened. You're going to see the video. You're going to see the sequence of events. You're going to hear a lot in the video. You're going to hear people yelling at Nikolai over 20 times, some version of "get away, go away." You hear the boys, the teenagers yelling, get away from us, get the fuck away, get back, get away from us, walk away, walk away. You're going to hear that there's another group of tubers, adults, who hear this and come over to help the boys. You're going to hear them yelling, go, get your ass and go, go, get your ass and go, 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 go. You're going to hear that Isaac's group and the group of adult tubers, I'll probably refer to them as the Carlson group throughout the trial, didn't know each other, still don't know each other. You're going to hear from both of those groups testify about what they saw. You're going to hear that there's 6 victims in this case. 1 that was punched, 5 that were stabbed, and you're going to hear from all those victims except Isaac Schumann. That's because on July 30th of 2022, Nikolai Mew killed him. It was the summer before Isaac's senior year of high school. He was living in Stillwater, Minnesota with his mom, stepdad, brother, and stepsister. He was looking forward to going to college after high school. The photo on his left was his last school photo from his junior year of high school. The photo in the middle was his last birthday. He went out to celebrate at a restaurant with his family when he turned 17. Photo on the right, he was showing off the new trailer he bought to his mom for his new car detailing business. On July 30th, 2022, it was a nice day. Weather was in the 80s, perfect sunny day for tubing. You'll see body cam that it was busy. There was a lot of tubers on the river. Isaac was tubing with 5 of his best friends: Alex Bang, Juwan Cockfield, Owen Peliquin, Ryan Nelson, Landon Weiner. And our last photo is Isaac. His friends called him Bike. These are, you'll see, this is how they're dressed when they're on the river. These are screen grabs from that day. The other group you hear a lot about is the Carlson group. The only one who was stabbed out of Isaac's group was Isaac. The rest of the people stabbed and punched were from the Carlson group. Riley Madison was stabbed. Dante Carlson was stabbed. AJ Martin was stabbed. Tony Carlson was stabbed. Madison Cohen was punched. The other group you'll hear a lot about is Nikolai Mew's group. Some of these folks you'll hear more about than others, likely. Ariel, you'll see him in the video of the incident. Gilma, I expect you'll hear testimony from her. Eric Vaughn Williams, you may see in some body cam, hear testimony. Nikolai Mew, that's Sandy Mew, Nikolai's wife at the time. Ernesto, you'll see in the incident video also. So Nikolai and Ernesto worked together. A lot of these other people knew Nikolai through Ernesto or just met Nikolai that day. Sergio he's the far right. He wasn't actually in this picture, but he was the last member of their group. So all these groups were tubing on the Apple River. They're all out with friends. They're all drinking. This is a map of the Apple River. Tubers started at River's Edge up on the top right, and they kind of tube in this snaky U shape down and then left and up. A lot of the tubers stop and did stop in this case at the Hideaway. There's a bar there, there's a beach spot to hang out. The incident, the stabbings, occurred shortly before the tubers reached the 35 bridge that crosses over the river. You might hear it referred to as the Sunrise Bridge. And then the place where tubers exit is called the Village Park exit. And you'll hear that the only group of these 3 groups that made it to the exit was Nikolai's group. You'll hear that shortly before the incident, Ariel's phone got knocked in the water. It was in a waterproof case. You'll hear testimony that he wasn't that worried about it. He said he has insurance for his phone, but Nikolai insisted on looking for it. So the group ends up waiting at a sandbar. Nikolai goes downstream. He's got goggles and snorkel. He's going to look for the phone. Isaac's group is tubing a ways downstream. And you'll hear them describe that this older guy is tubing next to their tubes in extremely shallow water, getting really close to them, not really saying anything. He's got they all will describe a strange look in his face. They're creeped out by him. You'll hear from several of them that he said something about looking for little girls. You'll hear from 1 or 2 that he said something about looking for a phone. Jawan, second from the left, filmed the main video in this case. He also filmed a 9-second video shortly before that main video. And in that 9-second video, you'll see Juwan saying, he said he's looking for little girls, he's a raper. And Nikolai is walking away. He doesn't keep walking away. At the end of that video, he stops and he turns around. 2 seconds later is when that main video starts. The video of the stabbings. You'll see at that start of the main video, Nikolai is walking towards the group of tubers. They're down in their tubes, the teenage boys, Isaac's group. In the beginning, when Nikolai is walking towards him, he's got his hand down on a pocket to the right of his shorts. You'll hear from people from his group that that's where he kept his knife. You'll see in the video that he then starts to run. He runs at the boys who are down in their tubes. That's the only time in this video you'll see Nikolai run, when he runs up on the group of teenage boys. He doesn't even run after stabbing 5 people. He walks away. There's his hand on that pocket. He's carrying a snorkel and goggles. That group in the background there, in the middle photo, that's the Carlson's group. And eventually come over in response to the yells of the kids. Nikolai puts his goggles in his mouth and grabs onto their tubes with 2 hands. You'll hear in the video the boys are yelling, "Whoa, whoa, what's this guy doing, weirdo?" You can see their reactions in the video. That's Alex Vang on the left. Nikolai drops his goggles and snorkel in the water. He then starts reaching in the water where they fall into the water. He starts walking around their tubes. They're yelling at him, get away from us, walk away. They're also chirping at him. You'll hear Juwan saying, he's a pedophile. Nikolai says something back, you can't hear it in the video. He's standing, now this is facing downriver, so the direction they're tubing, that's that bridge going over the river in the background. Boys are yelling, get away. That's Isaac in the middle photo with the white hat, purple trunks. That's Isaac again on the left photo, standing with his hands up, fingers splayed. You can see a gold bracelet on his left wrist. You see that again later in the video. At this point in the video, you hear the boys start to cheer. And that's because you'll hear from them that the Carlsons, some adults, were coming over to help. Those 2 people you see walking over are Madison and Dante. Madison's later punched, Dante's later stabbed. There's Isaac's bracelet. As Madison is walking over, she's yelling, go, go, go. Nikolai says, you'll hear it in the video, they took my snorkel. Madison's pointing and yelling for him to go. You can see in that pocket on his shorts, metallic clip, his pocket knife. Madison's pointing and yelling at him to go. Nikolai turns his back to her, looks back at the group of boys in the right photo. She drags him back away from the boys, back to her. You'll hear from her, that's why she went over them in the first place, was to try to get him away from the boys. She keeps telling him to go. He starts smiling. He waves upstream towards his group. More women from the Carlson group come over. That's Riley in the middle, in that middle photo. She ends up getting stabbed. Right photo, you can see Nikolai puts his hand on that knife in his pocket again. He's smiling. The boys are laughing. They're drunk 17-year-old boys. They have nothing in their hands, as you'll see in the video. They're laughing and pointing at Nikolai. He's smiling. Then you'll see his hands start moving. You can't quite see what they're doing. You can see they come together in front of his waist. You can see behind him, there's nothing but clear and empty water. As Madison and Riley, two women, are talking to him, telling him to leave, he takes out his knife. He opens it, blade up, still smirking, looking straight at the women. You'll not see Nikolai raise his knife and brandish it. You'll not hear him yell at anyone to get back. You'll not see him say anything at this point in the video after he takes his knife out. You'll not see him try to take a step back or walk away. You will see him looking around, smirking, while continuing to hold the knife down by his side. While holding the knife, he looks around, looks back over at the boys. You can see Riley leaning over, trying to keep his attention. Nothing but clear water behind him. You'll see Madison's got sunglasses on. Some more people from the Carlson group come over. That's AJ in the yellow swim trunks. He gets ultimately stabbed, you'll see. That's Dante in the right photo. He gets stabbed. This entire video is 3 minutes and 23 seconds long. It's not a very long video, but from the point in the video when witnesses say Nikolai punched Madison until you see Nikolai walking off after having stabbed 5 people, it's only about 20 to 25 seconds. It happens very fast in the video. You'll see that when you see it played in real time. You'll see the boys are loud, they're boisterous. You'll hear that in the video. There's a lot of yelling. Pedophile is looking for little girls. Go, get away from us. You'll not hear anyone in the video threaten Nikolai. You'll not see anyone raising fist to him before it turns physical. You won't see anyone besides Nikolai with a weapon. You don't see the boys touch Nikolai until after stabbings start. The next portions of the still frames is moments before the witnesses say it turned physical when Nikolai punched Madison in the face, who was one of the women standing in front of him. The Carlsons say he punched Madison. The boys, the teenagers, say he punched the blonde girl. They didn't know her name. They didn't know each other. It happens fast. Remember, up to this point, Nikolai already has the knife in his hand. After it pans, from the last frames I showed you, AJ was walking over in the yellow swim trunks. The video pans back to the middle. You see Madison and Riley are standing in front of Nikolai. The video pans to the left. You see the boys still laughing. That's Isaac in the background of the middle photo. He's pretty much just standing there in the background. Then you see everybody react and you hear it. You hear the change in the tone. And this is when witnesses say Nikolai punched Madison in the face. You hear Madison testify and Nikolai punched her in the face. Madison's sunglasses are no longer on her head. We hear testify that they got knocked off when he hit her. After Nikolai punches Madison, Dante her friend punches Nikolai. You can see that in the right frame. Again, Madison's sunglasses, no longer there. Nikolai goes down in the water. You can see in the right photo, he gets slapped. Shallow water, his butt's in the water essentially. That's AJ in those photos pushing on Nikolai's back. You'll see that the push doesn't really do anything. Nikolai gets right up with the knife in his right hand, lunges at AJ as AJ's going to push him again. As AJ is pushing Nikolai, Nikolai stabs into his lower abdomen with the blade up, and slices out his stomach. You can see in that right photo, he just missed his throat, chin. In the middle photo, you can see AJ's stomach opened up on the bottom, right above the subtrunks. From the push from AJ, Nikolai goes down, lands in his butt in the water again. You won't see anyone in the video pounce on him at this point, or approach him, try to hit him when he's down in the water. You see him try to grab at Tony. That's Tony, you'll hear that's Tony in the jean shorts. Tony walks by him. Tony has his back to Nikolai. And you'll hear Tony yelling in the video, "Get back, get back." You hear testimony from Tony that he thought he was breaking up a fist fight. So he's yelling at somebody off screen to get back. He has his back to Nikolai. Nikolai gets up, still with the knife in his hand. That person in the top left of the left photo is Riley. So after Tony, you hear him yelling, directing somebody off screen to get back. He turns to Nikolai and he's yelling, "Get back, get back." And you see him pointing in the video and yelling. And you see Nikolai's hand going back with the knife in it. He makes a stabbing motion off screen. Tony's yelling at him, "Get back." And then you see Riley's just been stabbed. That group in the background there that Nikolai's facing with nobody between him and that group is his group. That's his group of tubers. Tony, you'll see and you hear from him when he testifies that he's just yelling at Nikolai to go. Nikolai doesn't. Again, that's his group. In the right photo, the guy with the aviators, that's his friend Ariel, almost up to Nikolai. Nikolai doesn't walk back to his group. Instead, he turns to Tony with the knife in his right hand. He stabs at him twice. You can see Riley bleeding in the background. Ariel, Nikolai's friend, is there as he's lunging the knife at Tony. That hand there on the bottom right-hand corner, you'll see more clearly in the next still shots. Isaac goes to shove Nikolai. See the gold bracelet? As he's shoving Nikolai, Nikolai lunges out with the knife. Nikolai kind of stumbles back from the push, comes back with his knife covered in blood and dripping blood. You can see the women recoiling from him. Nikolai ends up by his friend Ariel as he's stumbling from the push. You don't see Dante get stabbed in the video, but I expect you'll see evidence and testimony that it was after this. It's not until this point in the video, after he stabbed AJ, Riley, Tony, and Isaac, that you hear people start react and realize what's going on in the video. You hear that they all suddenly saw AJ, and you'll see in a second what they saw. Up until that point, people didn't realize that Nikolai was stabbing people. You'll hear in the video the shock and disbelief as what just happened. The camera pans around, you see Nikolai looking in the direction to where AJ and Isaac are. AJ is in the water, holding in his guts. Isaac's friends scatter and run. Juan, who's filming, runs back. Nikolai walks away. You can see at this point, if you recall the photo of Dante, he's got dark chunks on the bottom, light on top. He's got his hands on his torso and he's looking down. Nikolai continues to walk away. He walks by his friend Ariel. On that right photo, he's standing in front of Ernesto. He walks by Ernesto. On the right there, that's Alex Bing running to Isaac, who's collapsed in the water. You see AJ struggling. That's Nikolai by Ernesto. Nikolai continues walking. The camera pans away, and it pans back. Nikolai's off in the distance. Pans down a little bit, and that's what the middle photo is showing. And then you see in the left photo, you see he's approaching the right shore. Camera pans down, pans back up. He's walking away from the right shore. Isaac's group and the Carlson's group start helping each other, try to get to shore, get the victims to shore. Isaac and AJ, who are collapsed. Nikolai starts walking back from the right over across to where his group is at the sandbar. Camera pans around the water. Water's running red. It's Isaac's hat floating by. Nikolai is almost back to his group. You can see people trying to help AJ and Isaac. You see a couple people from the Carlson's group start to call 911. We hear from the 4 people that were stabbed, and none of them saw Nikolai with the knife. They didn't notice he had a knife. They didn't know. They thought they were punched until they looked down and see all the blood. There's not going to be any testimony on what Isaac saw. If he saw Tony get stabbed right in front of him when he went to shove Nikolai, because Isaac's not going to be here to tell what he saw. You hear that some Good Samaritans who are also tubing, some nurses, tended to AJ and Isaac until law enforcement and paramedics arrived. AJ, as a result, was disemboweled. He had to have emergency surgery. He was in the hospital for nearly a month and had to have numerous follow-up surgeries. Riley, who was in the bikini in the middle photo, was stabbed in the side. It sliced her diaphragm. She had to have emergency surgery. Tony was stabbed twice. One, he'll describe how he kind of blocked it. He thought it was a punch coming in, so it just kind of scratched him, but the other one went into his torso. Isaac was stabbed in the chest and the torso, cut clean through 2 ribs, and sliced his heart. Died almost immediately. He was 17 years old. Dante was also stabbed in the torso. Nikolai returned to his group. You'll hear from people in his own group. He didn't really say what happened. He said, "They took my knife." They stayed at the sandbar for a while. So a little while, sometime after law enforcement arrived. Multiple members of his group called 911. He did not. They reported they didn't know what happened, but multiple people were injured. One person from their group, Eric Von Williams, went over to help with the wounded. He also spoke with law enforcement when they got to the scene. He's the only one who did. At some point, Nikolai tells his group that they should just float to the exit. So they floated to the exit. You'll see that when law enforcement arrived on the scene, it was chaotic. Information they had was that an unknown subject stabbed 5 people. People didn't know where he was. They're all looking at AJ and Isaac and trying to help each other to shore. Nobody paid attention to where the guy with the knife went. There's dozens of tubers that continue to go through. There's tubers running through the woods trying to find the guy who was stabbing people. Isaac and AJ, there's no place to get to them by road. Officers had to go to the nearest. They went to the 35 bridge and then they had to wade upstream to get to them, float them out on tubes. You'll see that when officers get there, there's bystanders, just other tubers intermixed with victims, intermixed with witnesses. Some of the witnesses were so emotional they couldn't even articulate what happened at first. So Juwan, who filmed the video, he alerts law enforcement that he's got a video of it. And he pauses it at an image of Nikolai from the video. That deputy circulates it around to other law enforcement who are responding. Officers go down to the exit. One deputy walks right by Nikolai and his group because he's looking for somebody who matches that photo. The reports all that they had where he was by himself. Deputy walks right by Nikolai, but then 2 citizens, one employee of River's Edge who had the photo, and a friend of the owner of River's Edge alerted law enforcement that they think this guy matches the photo. Nikolai is apprehended. Members of the group asked, why is he being detained? You have the wrong guy. This is how he was dressed when law enforcement made contact with him. You'll see the body cam, Nikolai doesn't really show any emotion when he's taken into custody. You'll see a video of Sheriff Knudsen when Nikolai is in the back of the squad car. Sheriff Knudsen goes to check on him. How are you doing? You doing all right? Nikolai says, what's going on? I hear somebody got stabbed. And I fit the description. Nikolai is later told by officers that he's under arrest for homicide and attempted homicide. Ultimately, Nikolai is interviewed by Lieutenant Randy Hart. In that video, you'll see the recording of that interview. His version varies drastically from the video of the incident. The interview is about 45 minutes long. You'll get to see that video, but I'll highlight some portions of it. When Nikolai is interviewed, he's not told there's a video. Lieutenant Hart shows him a screenshot, that one that went around to law enforcement. She asks if he knew that they took his picture. He says, no, he didn't know that. And then he asks if she has any other pictures of him. What other pictures did they give you? So up to this point, Nikolai told his group that they should leave the scene of the stabbing, put on the jacket, hat, and sunglasses, tried to walk by law enforcement at the exit. He said to Sheriff Knudsen, I heard somebody got stabbed. He was told he was under arrest for homicide and attempted homicide. So you'll see in the video, Lieutenant Hart is explaining he doesn't need to speak with her. Nikolai responds, or I can say it was self-defense. Self-defense. There's lots of people that came to me, self-defense, and they produced 2 weapons, one I took from them. And that's the only thing I tell you. They hit me, they were on top of me. I don't remember anything after that. I just remember I ran away. You'll see that Nikolai repeats over and over throughout the interview that they pulled knives on him. Because of that, he feared for his life. He also repeatedly says they knocked his goggles off his face. He says they're trying to pull his swim trunks down. And they snorkeling, so they took my snorkel away. They threw it in the water. They grabbed my pants. One wanted to pull my pants down, and I grabbed onto them. And I don't know who that kid was, but he had a knife on him, and there was another knife, a longer knife, looked like a kitchen knife. They came, they grabbed my snorkel, and they threw it in the water. His goggles are lost. They took them, they grabbed them off my face, and threw them in the water. Not only does Nikolai say repeatedly throughout the interview that they pulled knives on him, he says he did not have a knife. I feared for my life. There was the truth. And they started hitting me, pointed a knife at me, and another kid pointed a knife. I thought that was it for me. So actually, I took it from one of the young kids, and I think that's when I swung back. When you watch the video, the only thing you'll see in other people's hands in that video are drinks, cell phones, and a vape pen. We'll hear testimony from both Isaac's group and the Carlson's group that none of them had knives. Nikolai again, one had it in his hand, so I took his hand and I bent it. I poked him with his own hand, and I took him from his hand, and then I swung. So I don't know who I hit. I just know that I took the knife from one of those kids. Lieutenant Hart asks, did you have a knife with you? No, absolutely no. Nikolai says he's telling the truth, but he does not know where his knife was. He says he had one earlier to cut the string for the tubes right at the beginning. I left it on I don't even know what I did with it. I either gave it to one of the people or I put it in my truck. To tell you the truth, I don't even know. I don't even know where it's at, to tell you the truth. Maybe one of the bags we had with us, it may have been in, I don't know, maybe I left it, put it back in the car. He says everything happened fast. He doesn't know why they attacked him. I don't even know why they took my snorkel. Don't know why they wanted to pull my pants down. I don't know why they're being so mean. Why did they want to scare me with a knife? They're scaring people on the river. It's a family-oriented river with knives, and what they did. I just grabbed the kid's knife. I didn't even know I was holding it right. I grabbed it from him because he tried to poke me with it, so I feared for my life. He says it over and over. They're pushing me, shoving. I tripped. I fell down. I got up, and that's where I saw one of the kids there, closest kid with the knife, and I grabbed it from him. Again, you'll hear he was already told he is under arrest for homicide. Nikolai asked Lieutenant Hart, so what happened? Can you tell me what happened? Lieutenant Hart says, yes, 4 people went to the hospital with injuries. Nikolai says, oh my God. Lieutenant Hart says, and 1 person died. Nikolai says, oh no. Lieutenant Hart says, I don't know their names or their genders, I don't know. And Nikolai asks, is that because they fought each other? Again, you'll see this in the video of Nikolai walking off to the right shore before walking back to his group. You'll hear from Gilma Constanza, who's one of the tubers in his group, that as he walked back after the incident, he did not walk back directly to the group. He walked over to the shore across from them and threw something out of the bank. This is you'll hear from Chuck Coleman from the Sheriff's Office. It's a 3D rendering. This is a bird's eye view of it. These are approximate locations you'll hear on where things happened. The river in this image is flowing downstream or down to the bottom. So the bridge would be below this image. The white dot is approximately where the boys were when Nikolai first made contact with them. They continue to drift down a little bit. The Carlson's group is that pink dot. They also continue to float down, so at the time of the incident, they were more kind of parallel with Isaac's group. And then orange dot is the sandbar that you'll see in the video where you hear that the Nikolai's group was. That star, you'll hear that's where law enforcement found the knife. This is that knife that was found on the shore. You'll hear that this knife was sent to Wisconsin State Crime Lab, tested positive for blood. It was compared to DNA samples of the 5 people that were stabbed. It had DNA, Dante, and Isaac on it. By close of trial, you'll see that these were senseless and horrific acts of violence, and all Nikolai had to do was walk away. At the close of trial, the state will ask you to find Nikolai Newton guilty of first-degree intentional homicide of Isaac Schumann, attempted first-degree intentional homicide of Riley Madison, A.J. Martin, Dante Carlson, and Tony Carlson, battery of Madison Cohen. Thank you.
Thank you. Members of the jury, we are going to take a short recess. We'll come back at 2:10. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
Jesus Christ. What was that about? Right, hang on. I'm trying to. I'm going to take that down. Right, what are we thinking, people? What are we thinking? What are we thinking first off about some of this testimony? Obviously, in isolation, looks bad. In isolation. But we do need to look at the video in all of its context, I think. Damn, it doesn't quite cover it. I wanted to make sure that that covered the Lawn Crime video thing, but it doesn't quite. It was something. It was a bit gory, yeah. Dave, 69. Sounds like it's not self-defense. No, look. It's tough. It's tough. Just remember that we've only heard one side of the story. Remember that there's 2 sides to every story. So now we're going to get to hear what the defense think. Was he drunk? So he says that he was intoxicated. The lead detective says that she couldn't smell any alcohol on him at all. She was like, no, he wasn't intoxicated. He said he never drank any hard liquor, but that he was, he'd had something to drink. Now, the 17-year-olds were all drinking all day. They were quite drunk. Now, I think in some of the photos, you can see the aggressiveness of it. But until you see the video, stills do nothing. Stills do nothing. It paints the picture he wanted to paint. I think he's been caught out a little bit here because of the knife. He said he didn't have the knife. He left it in the car, where you can clearly see he has a knife in his hand. Now, I don't excuse that in a sense, like, that's a lie. He's been caught out. Fine. We need to see the video to see how were they attacking him and stuff like that. I did see one of the pictures. The guy was really aggressively doing it. So was that self-defense? I don't know. I can't tell with pictures. It just makes him look bad. So I think you need to look at the video. So I don't. We'll see. As we say, two sides to every story. And whilst we're on break, just for a break for a couple of minutes, listen to wrongfulpod.com and find out the injustice Zaka. Oh, Zaka. Yeah, video still's not good enough. Still's not good enough. We need a video. Yes, those kids definitely provoked him. Yes, I think they did provoke Cassie. I think that. So what happened? Someone asked earlier on what happened. Oh, I think it was Alicia actually said what happened. So he was looking for his friend's mobile phone. There's a group of them. And they were looking for his mobile phone. Not his, someone else's within the group. And he went around looking for it, couldn't find it. Then he heard some noise from these boys, and he thought in his mind, or this is what he's saying, that they'd found the phone. So he went over there then to see if they found something in the phone. And that's where it kicked off. And that's why then they start saying he's a child. PED, not a nice thing. Then that's where everyone else started converging upon him then. So they were probably drunk. I think they did lunge at him in the sense of, they were all over him in his face and stuff like that. Does that constitute self-defense? I mean, until you see the video, the attorney was saying you could see behind him clear water. Well, hang on a minute, but was that deep water? I don't know. I don't know. That's not enough. Pictures aren't enough for me. The prosecutor's job is to make sure that he paints a picture of the defendant is guilty. That's what they believe in. And that's their job. Fine. Now, the defense attorney has to come up now and give their version of it. But I've said all along, when I did the review this morning, it will all come down to the video. The video on the knife. And the knife, now we've seen clearly he had the knife in his hand. So I don't think he snatched it from someone, again, unless he did in the video. We need the video. What was the question on the kids? Okay, question was they wanted a better understanding of a word. I don't remember what the word was. In one of the 10 thingies against each defendant, there was a word they didn't quite understand what it meant. So that's what they asked, basically. The video's up, Dave, if you want to have a look at it as well. I need to look at it. They were in the middle of it. So I would say, right, do you know how rivers? So I'm not sure. Where I am, you obviously got, I got loads of rivers by me. You got shallow ends, but then where the rocks and stuff are, but then as you go in the middle, it gets a hell of a lot deeper. So I'm just speculating, was the middle part behind him a lot deeper? I can't see how they can go down that river with that shallow of water. Not all the way. I just can't see it. But anyway, I'm speculating. I don't know. I'm looking forward to hearing the defense's opening. So if you just come, the jury can take notes, but they cannot take notes of the opening or the closings. But they can take notes of everything else. So just in case, I need to put Zach's name correctly. One of my favorite podcasts is called the wrongfulpod.com. So then just as Zach. So go listen to Injustice. That's another case from Wisconsin you can listen to. if you've not done so. And free Zachary Anderson and free Karen Reid. Now, again, I don't expect everyone to agree with me, and that's absolutely fine. That's just my belief as a channel that I want to see Zachariah and Karen Reid freed. So, right, where we are here. Okay, right, once I've got this, take this off screen for a second. Robin, I will explain to you now, my darling. I will explain to you now. I will explain this to you in a second. Let me just get this to give a special thank you here. Hang on. Just share this. We'll be back on the stream now. Don't worry. Share screen. Because it doesn't come up, I've got to do it this way. Right, let me just move myself. So just want to say thank you to, since this morning, thank you to Shelley Ortiz, love your channel, came for the Krieger trial and will now stay long after. Thank you for the 3 coffees, Shelley. Also, Shelley became a member of Paddington Club, so thank you for becoming a member. If you want to become a member, you just go there. You can join Paddington Club, Erin's Taco, or Happy Days Club. So, yeah, thank you for your support. You can support or by buying a coffee, you see that support, or become a member. If you become a member like Shelley has, remember, join Discord through that as well. So thank you very much, Shelley. Appreciate you for that. Right, back where I was. For a deep dive into the wrongful conviction of Zachariah, listen to, there we are, wrongfulpod.com. Free Karen Reid, absolutely. So, Robin, what it was this. This is what it is. Let me put the stream back on, otherwise people start shouting at me. He was with a group of people. So, and essentially what happened was a member of that group lost their mobile phones, and he thought it might have been lost in the river. So he went looking for it. He went looking for his snorkels, didn't find anything, went back, then came back again and looked again for the phone. During that period of time, he heard these young guys shout up something. So he thought they were shouting out saying, "Hey, got your phone," or something. So he went over. As soon as he went over, they started calling him a child predator type thing. Next thing, everyone started conversing. Then the older group started coming together and surrounding him. So that's what it was essentially. And apparently they checked his snorkels and everything. They got checked behind. He lost them, and he also said that his knife was left in the car, but allegedly, his knife was there. So I'm not really sure what he meant by that. So we'll hear the defense side now. We'll see what happens. But yeah, what I'm going to try and do is go off screen a little bit. No one wants to see my ugly mug, but I need to cover this law and frigging crime stuff. Hang on. Can't do it. Finally, the try showing up. It was blank for a while. Oh, was it? Sometimes you got to refresh your Seahawks. Sometimes. Somebody's up for sandbars, but I didn't see any. It's more of a creek they can. Okay, no, that's fair. That's fair. If it's a creek, Dave, then I can agree. It's just because they call it a river. That's why I was a bit like, oh. If it's a river, there's obviously different depths and stuff like that. That's why I was asking, could it be that? Also, why would you snorkel in like 2 feet? I mean, you can see down. You know, if he's walking like that, you don't need to snorkel. That's what got me confused. No worries, Robin. My pleasure, my darling. My pleasure. Hang on. Okay, there's that. Guy looks guilty, but it should be interesting to see how. Yeah, I mean, I think we've learned something covering trials. Never judge a book by its cover. I think. I think we go by that motto now because if you come in, like to be fair, that opening statement was compelling and did not look good for the defendant. I don't think it didn't look good. But as we know, two sides to every story. I think once we come through, the back. Hang on, I'll shut up. I'd never like to speak when they're speaking. Hang on.
Back on the record, same appearances. Mr. Mew is present in the courtroom. The jury is present. We're ready for Mr. Nelson's opening statement. Mr. Nelson.
Nick Mew standing in the river with 13 strangers. 13 drunk, angry strangers. 13 against 1. They yelled and they screamed in order to attract a crowd. They got a crowd. They told lies to make the crowd angry. He's looking for little girls. He's looking for little girls. They layered their lies. They made them louder to make the crowd more angry. He's a predator. He's a predator. They chanted. They pulled on him. They closed the space around him. They got up in his face and they pushed him. Somebody else pushed him. And they pointed and they pushed and they pushed and they pushed. And when he put up his left hand, to block and protect himself as they're in his space, in his face, he puts up his left hand to protect himself. And then they got violent. They got violent. They knocked a grown man, punched him, knocked him into the water. And when he's down in the water, they come up on him and they hit him again when he's down in the water. When he tries to get up out of the water, they attack him from the front, smack him across the front of the face, while somebody else comes from behind and starts pushing him down. In that moment, he feared for his life. And he responded in self-defense. Let me show you what they did. Dante Carlson, who had earlier come over into that group, right? His dad had sent him over to help Nick. But the crowd got Dante going, and it didn't matter. He was going to hit him. And when the opportunity arose, as Dante Carlson will tell you, he laid him out. Knocks a grown man back off of his feet, where it's not just his butt. You'll see on the video, it's his shoulder, it's his head. He goes into the water. He didn't have a measuring stick. He wasn't figuring out what the height of the water is. He went in the water because they hit him into the water. And when he's down, you'll see he's down in the water. And Dante Carlson, who punched him with his right hand, right? He was so confident. Had his beer in his left hand. And then he's given a beat down with his right hand. He then runs around him as Nick is falling into the water. And he's in the water. He runs around him with the beer in his hand because he knows he's got his group around him. And then he comes around and he smacks him again. You can see in the first photo, you can see the shadow of Dante's arm coming across. And you can see it hits him across the face and across the ear. That's not just a slap. That's a full hand. You'll watch the video. It knocks him down. And then when he's down in the water, you'll see A.J. Carlson, who you'll hear tells you that he came over there to mediate. But for whatever reason, maybe it's because of a crowd, maybe it's because of a mob, maybe it's some other mentality. But when this happens, he sees this old man down on the ground. He doesn't go to help him. He goes to push him from behind. And while he's pushing him from behind, look in the upper corner there. That's Dante's arm. You can see in the middle slide, that's Dante's hand smacking Mew across the front of his head. And then you'll see on the third slide, that's where he's extending through. So confident he's going to beat this old man down that he keeps the drink in his hand. That's the close-up that you can see through there. Dante Carlson hitting Nick Mew in the face while his friend attacks him from behind. You're going to need to make some choices in this case, right? Make some decisions. Some of the things that might help you to do. Let me just take a step back, all right? Who is Nick Mew? Who's the man that they wanted to beat down on the river? We're going to tell you about that. How did he get there? What made him be in the river on that day, as we saw here earlier? And we'll tell you that story. And then lastly, why did this angry mob, this pack of players, why did they attack him? And we're going to tell you that. First, who is Nick, right? Nick's 54 years old, lives in Prior Lake. He's married, right? See a photo. You'll hear from his wife, Sandy, right? She's going to be a witness. She was there with him that day. Him and a bunch of other 50-year-olds went to go have a peaceful day on the river, right? Nick grew up in Romania, right? And when he was about 15 or 16, he immigrated over here. We're not going to get really into it. Romania was not a good place to be in the 80s. Communist dictator, all kinds of other bad stuff was going on. And Nick's dad, like a lot of people in the world, wanted to have a better place for his family to grow up. So they, as political refugees, were accepted by a church in Minnesota, and they came over to Minnesota. When Nick was growing up, his first language was Romanian. Because he lived in this communist dictatorship, he also needed to learn Russian. Because he was in Europe, he also learned to speak French. Because he's a pretty smart guy, he also learned Latin. So when he was 15 and 16, he comes over to the United States, and then he picks up English as his fifth language. He can speak fluent English. He's fine. But I think it's important for you to know that's not his first language. When he graduates from high school in Minnesota, he decides he wants to go on and further his education, and he goes to school in South Dakota. He becomes a mechanical engineer, and he's worked as a mechanical engineer for years and years. Bit of a handyman, as I imagine a lot of engineers are, right? I don't think of myself as a handyman. He's a handyman, good with tools, hangs out with tools, and you'll hear from other people how he's used tools in the past. And you'll hear that as you'll hear on the tape, as he tells the police, living a peaceful, quiet life in Minnesota, never been in trouble before. him and some of his work friends, as all of us sometimes as adults, our circle of friends tends to be people that we work with. He has a group of friends, Amanda and Ernesto. They've been down the Apple River before. In fact, they've invited him before, and he's been down the river one time before, several years earlier. So they make a plan with all of those, the group of people that we saw, right? Oh, I forgot one thing here. Nick, like a lot of people, maybe as they get older, isn't of the best health. In 2020, he had a heart attack. And he needed to have quadruple bypass open heart surgery. So these are the photos of him recovering from that. And it took him some time. And he'll tell you how that still makes him feel fragile, right? He doesn't feel as fit as he was when he was 18 or 22. So he decides to get out on the river with his friends. These are some of the friends. And as you'll see in photos, right? He's in the water that day. It's warm that day. Sometimes he's wearing his sunglasses. Sometimes he's not. Sometimes he's got a hat on. Sometimes he doesn't. Sometimes he has his shirt on. Sometimes he doesn't. This is the photo of the start, which is pretty much the exact same thing he was wearing at the end. His friends Amanda and Ernesto asked him to come along. There's a lot of other adults that are coming, right? There's no 20-somethings, no teenagers. They pack food in coolers. Sure, they have a couple of beers, but it's really just a time to get together with their other adults and float peacefully down the river. Nick likes to snorkel, right? So he brought his goggles and his snorkel, right? That's just kind of who Nick is. He's a bit of an explorer, a bit of a curious mind, and he'd brought his goggles and snorkel. And you'll see a video of him prior to this where he's just kind of laying. Well, he kind of floats there with the goggles and the snorkel, and he's looking at the bottom of the water. Probably not a lot of exciting things at the bottom of the water in Apple River, but he was there to see it if there was something there. Before he leaves, he gets a call from his friend Ernesto, because Ernesto knows Nick and knows that Nick's a bit of a handyman, and is like, hey, remember last time we had all those strings? We got all those strings. You got to cut up stuff. You got to do this. Can you bring that little pocket knife that you've got, that utility knife? I've seen you use it at my house. You've used it as a tool. Make sure you bring that because we need to cut up some of the strings. So he does. Gets back, packs that up, brings it along. And sure enough, when they get there, they have their provided strings. And then people you'll see, they tie up tubes, they tie up coolers, they tie up everything else. And he uses his pocket knife to sometimes cut those up, right? You'll also see as he's going through on the river that day that his shoes kind of fall apart, right? And you'll see that pictures of his shoes, he's got strings and he's tied them up and he continues to cut with the little pocket knife that he has to make sure that his shoes, his footwear, are something that he can have. So they float down the river. All right, this is the group. You saw that photo already with Mr. Anderson showed that to them, right? And again, here he has the hat on. Here he's got the hat off. You'll see later, not surprisingly, when he goes to snorkel, he doesn't have his sunglasses on. And sometimes when he snorkeled, he had a shirt on. Other times he took it off. Here's another picture of him on the river with the group. Again, has the hat back on, depending upon what the sun is like. So, how did he get there, right? Well, as we talked about, Ariel, his friend, loses his phone, right? And whether they wanted to look for it or didn't want to look for it, I don't know how that's relevant. I don't know how his wanting to go help his friend look for his phone is any way important. You'll get to decide that. But we know at the end of the day is it's uncontested. His friend lost his phone. And as you saw in some of those photos, they have these little bags that they put him on, and they didn't know if it was going to float, if it was going to sink. But the water between him and the other two groups was downstream. So if something went into the water, it would float towards where those other two groups were. So Nick used his head and walked where he thought the phone was going to float to, and he goes looking for it, right? And then while he's looking for it, he runs into another group, right? And this is the group that we're going to talk about, two different groups, right? The first group he runs into is this group of high school, right? And you're going to hear that they're drunk. You're going to hear that they were smoking stuff. The one piece of evidence that we know for sure is that at the time of the autopsy, Isaac Schumann's blood alcohol concentration was 0.219. And if you ask his friends are going to say he was the most sober one in the group. So we have this group, they're drunk, they're loud, there's 6 of them, they're football players, they've run as a pack together before. You're going to hear some videos, they're a quite confident group, right? And they see this man that maybe others are going to judge upon his appearance. This group of 6 see him and they start making judgments about him based upon what he looks like. He's an old man in the river with goggles, and they don't like it. So they start calling him names. Right? And there's a video, you're going to hear it, because they start harassing him. They start heckling him. They're basically trying to humiliate him. That's what they're doing. And Mr. Cockfield, one of the football players, he grabs his phone out and he thinks it's funny enough that he's going to record it. And you'll see that recording just before this, where he says, "Grown man looking for little girls." And he thinks it's really funny. And then he screams out, "Raper!" He doesn't scream that out for his benefit of his 5 football friends that are with him. He screams it out to draw a crowd, get other people involved. Now, Mr. Mew may or may not have heard that exact thing, but he hears them yelling and he turns around, and what does he see? He's looking for a phone, right? We know that. And when he turns around, he sees somebody holding up a phone. Maybe he's wrong, maybe he's mistaken about why they're holding up the phone, but he sees them holding up a phone, so he turns around to approach them because he thinks that's the phone he's looking for. I'm looking for this phone, it floated down this way, these kids are yelling. And he starts jogging towards them. As you saw, as he jogs toward them, he's an unfit 260-pound man trying to move through the water, and he picks up his feet for about 4 steps. And then he reaches his hands out to grab their tubes, and when he does so, he puts the snorkel and the goggles in his mouth. Maybe they thought it was an act of aggression. I don't really think it was. You'll get to see it and watch it. But we know nothing happens after that. Because as soon as he goes and approaches, the goggles and the snorkel drop. He loses them, and he immediately starts looking for them. That's about 5 seconds into the video. He starts looking for them, and they start yelling at him, "Get away, get away, get away." So this is the tubes, right? You as the jury, you're looking downstream this way, right? Nick is standing here in front of the tubes. He looks, he comes up, and then he walks to the other side of their tubes. He's now on this side of their tubes, downstream from them. He's downstream because that's where he thinks the goggles and the snorkels come. And did he tell the police officer that he thought they knocked the goggles and snorkels out of his hand? Yes, he did. Is that what he believed happened? Yes, it was. Is that what really happened? No, that's not what happened. And the great thing you're going to be able to see in this case is there's a video. There's a video that we can check everybody's testimony against. And you know what? Riley Madison got it wrong. Dante Carlson got it wrong. Madison Cohen got it wrong. Anthony Carlson got it wrong. Pretty much every witness, when you compare their human memory against the video, they got it wrong because we're humans. We can't get it as good as the video does. So he got that wrong, but he's still nevertheless looking for his goggles. His goggles are down in the water. He's looking for it. Right? He starts walking around there. There's nothing that prevents this group of football players who are screaming at him from just walking around. He's one man, maybe 2 feet wide. And you hear from there, they talk about him walking away, but they can just walk and float on by and leave this man alone. But they stay to harass, they stay to heckle, they stay to humiliate. because he starts walking away from them. And if you watch and you count, you watch it enough times, he takes about 10 steps away from them. And it's sometime during those 10 steps, when that group says, you got 10 seconds. 10 seconds. That's what this group of drunk teenagers says to that old man. And he's walking away at that point. And then what you'll see when the video comes back, he walked away. They followed. They didn't go around. They went right up to him where he had walked away. Now remember, as he's walking in this direction, his group is 200 and some feet that way, 280 feet that way. This water is deeper. As he starts walking away, he gets into deeper water. He doesn't have his goggles, doesn't have his snorkel, still can't find the phone. He's getting farther away from this group. The drunken teenagers are yelling at him. Now they keep following him. Now, this video, all right, we're going to show some slides from the video. And it's super important, obviously. We're very thankful that we have it so that you will know exactly what happened. But what you got to remember is the video was taken by Juwan Cockfield. It is from Juwan Cockfield's perspective. It's from his point of view, right? It makes it obvious. And so the person that we're watching oftentimes is Nick Mew, right? But you need to know, which is obvious, that the video is not from Nick's perspective. We're not watching it from Nick's perspective. We're watching it from somebody else's perspective. And why is that important? Because the judge is going to tell you, right? It's important because at the end of the case, you'll need to determine the reasonableness of his beliefs from his point of view. You'll need to determine the reasonableness of his beliefs, not actions. You're here to determine his beliefs and the reasonableness from his point of view. So as you're watching that video, you're going to be asked at the end to be like, what would someone in Mew's position, from that standpoint, what would they feel? What would they believe? Let me just quickly read to this, right? If I can, the law of self-defense. In determining reasonableness, a belief may be reasonable even though mistaken. In determining whether Nick Mew's beliefs were reasonable, the standard is what a person of ordinary intelligence and prudence would have believed in Nick's position under the circumstances that existed at the time of the alleged offense. Not 30 seconds before, not a minute before, at the time of the alleged offense. The reasonableness of Nick's beliefs must be determined from the standpoint of Nick Mew at the time of his acts, not from the viewpoint of the jury now. So I say that to you just so you know when we're looking at the evidence, what you're going to be asked to do at the end. So they get him into this position, and this is 50 seconds into the video. He's walked 10 steps away. They come up to him and approach him and cut him off. So he walks away one time, they follow him. But Nick, right, sees, right, so he's here. He's got a group of people here, and he looks off to his left, and he sees a group of adults. There's 2 adults coming this way. Great, adults, not drunk teenagers. Adults are coming this way. He doesn't continue to engage with this. He gets and starts walking over here. He walks over to engage with the adults in the hope, as I think most of us do, when we see perhaps another adult and we're dealing with a group of drunk teenagers, maybe I can appeal to reason. These are adults. And when he walks over this way and the path down the river is wide open, those drunk teenagers follow him. Follow him over here, where he then gets confronted by Madison Cohen. And Madison Cohen is not listening. She's not there for an appeal to reason. Her immediate words are to Nick Mew in his face, go, get the fuck out, go. And you'll see Nick's reaction is kind of like, as you heard from the, look, they have my goggles, like, why are you in my face? What's going on? And you can see they'll call it a smirk. They'll call it a smile. Look, there's 4,819 frames in that video. 4,819 frames. I have no doubt that you can pause on one of those 4,819 frames and find a photo where somebody's mouth is making a particular shape of anything at any time. Is he smirking? Is he smiling? You watch, you decide. Because he looks perplexed. He's immediately confronted, and he starts to give an explanation, and Dante Carlson tells him, it doesn't matter. Right? Appeal to reason? Nope, we're not doing that. That's kicked out the door. There is no appeal to reason at all. And while this is going on, the Carlson group, right, who sent 2 people over, also has Quentin Carlson, and he's an older adult. Madison Cohen, Dante Carlson, AJ Martin, they're in their early 20s, which is fine. They're certainly adults, but that might be different than somebody in their 40s. Quentin Carlson, he sees what's going on, and what he says, I was worried about the group against one guy. I was worried that they were going to gang up on him and something bad was going to happen to the old guy. So I told my son Tony and Dante to go make sure they don't attack that old guy. That's not somebody looking at it from Nick's perspective, but that's somebody who can see maybe what Nick sees, hear what Nick hears, and his thought is, oh, something bad's going to happen to that old guy. So he sends over his kids. And when they come over, right, the high school group continues in what I think we now know, it's a new term, is they gaslight him. They just start making up lies in order to affect his perception of reality and everybody else's perception of reality. As soon as that group comes over, that high school group says, he's a predator. And then immediately they're like, he's looking for little girls. He's looking for little girls. There will be zero evidence that there were ever little girls even anywhere near on that river. Zero. There's going to be zero evidence that he was looking for little girls. But they drum up, right? They get this crowd going. They've got the 2 people here, and they start yelling that. And then the crowd gets to be more, right? As this is going on, it's about 1:13, 1:15 into it, where they start screaming at him. He's looking for little girls. And then you'll see as he's standing here, after he's walked away from that group, he walks over to the adults. He's kind of pointing at them like, I got my snorkel. And they confront him. And as he's standing there, he turns his back on her. And he just stands here. And as he's standing with his back turned, and the path down the river is wide open, instead of just walking on by, Madison Cohen decides she's going to put her hands on him. And she grabs him and starts pulling him. And you'll see he turns around and immediately looks to his hand and says, don't touch me. Don't put your hands on me. They don't walk away. They stand right there. The crowd, the drunk high schoolers, continue to say he's looking for little girls. Somebody says, is that what he said? And then it changes to the next lie is, we've got it on camera. We've got it on camera. You're going to see that they downloaded that phone. There ain't nothing like that on the camera. There ain't nothing like that on the camera because that's not what happened. Because these drunk teenagers were gaslighting him and they're enticing a crowd. Nick stands there. He's now got people all around him, right? They're chanting at him, he's a predator, he's a predator. He's all alone. It's getting louder. He raises his left hand to his group. Like, we need some help here. Like something's going on, right? And when that happens, you'll see the camera, Juwan Cohen turns the camera to show where he's waving to. So the high school group has knowledge that Nick Mew, who's standing right here, doesn't want to go that way. Nick Mew, who's blocked right here, wants to go that way. Because that's where his group is, because that's where everybody looks. And you'll see on the camera Madison Cohen as she stands and he waves. She turns and looks and sees He's got some friends. So does Madison Cohen say, yeah, why don't you just go that way? She doesn't. What she does is she reaches to her friends and says, hey, get over here. She calls in more numbers. She calls in more numbers to confront him. Because at that point, it was 8 against 1, and she wanted more. So she brought over Riley, she brought over Janelle, she brought over Gabby, and then she calls for Anthony, and then she calls for AJ. And then it's those 13 people that surround him, right? And they're standing there, and you're going to see they're all around him. They are relentless in what they're yelling and screaming. From his standpoint, this is like, what is happening? What world did I just step into in which there's this group of drunk kids, drunk teenagers who, they want to say kids, I get it, but you saw those pictures. They're all bigger than Nick. Nick's smaller than he was then, right? But he hasn't grown any. He's just shrunk more, right? But he's not a big, fit guy, right? They're screaming, they're chanting, right? And at that point, yes, Nick, outnumbered 13-1, reaches in his pocket, finds his pocket knife, opens it up, and stands there with it. He doesn't brandish it, but he doesn't hide it. He's standing there with it. His belief at that point is, I don't want to use this. I don't think showing it to him is going to help. But if something happens, I don't know what's going to happen. So he's standing there with the knife. And as he's standing there with the knife, Riley Madison is right in front of him, and she pushes on him. You'll see that in the video. And then next to her, who's blocking him from his people, is Madison Cohen. She takes her right hand, and she pushes his left shoulder. And he has to go back. She pushes him back. And while all this is going on, the group of drunk teenagers are screaming, chanting, yelling. The numbers are getting bigger. They come over towards him. All right? They push him again. They block his path. And this is the same. That's what it looks like. You're Mew. You're looking upriver to see where your safety is. Behind you is deeper water. You've walked in that direction before. You appealed to reason, and they said it doesn't matter. They're up in his face, right? And Madison Cohen's pushing and pointing at him, right? And Mew's standing there. He's got the knife in his right hand. He doesn't use the knife. He's standing there while they're pushing and pointing at him, right? And when he does that, all of a sudden, that's when Dante Carlson gets violent, right? He's predisposed for violence, I submit to you. That's the entire purpose of the gaslighting, of getting the crowd there, of yelling with the crowd, of getting it all jacked up, is Jawan Cohen wanted to record a viral video in which some old man was getting beat down, and he was going to get it on tape. He created that world. He put him in that world.
Object. A lot of this is argument, not summarizing.
Sustained. Please focus on what you anticipate the evidence will show.
That's what the evidence is going to show, right? Dante Carlson has told you before, and he'll say it doesn't matter, right? At that moment, that's when Nick Mew raises his left hand to protect himself. He's raised it before to call for help. I think I missed it. He raised another time to call for help, a second time, and now they're crowded around him in his face. He raises his hand to protect it, and that's when they get violent, right? It's a push, not a punch. It's a push to protect himself, not a punch. The evidence. You'll watch that video. You might watch it 20 times. It's not on the video. There's no punch on the video. She's standing there yelling, and when she's standing there yelling, there are two people between her and Nick Mew. He's got the knife in his right hand, right? It's not on the video. There's no physical evidence. She says he punches her with his right hand. He's got the knife in his right hand. There's not a mark on her. You're going to see from John Schultz, his video, he spoke with her right then. He's right in her face. He's got a body cam. You'll get to see the body cam of her face, and she, not a blemish on it, not a mark on it. Doesn't support that he punched her. Third thing, multiple evolving stories. Listen to what the witnesses say. Who really says is there a punch, and what position were they in to say it? Because here's what they said before. Quentin Carlson, he told the police, she said he was punched. She said he punched her, but they said it was a slap. So everybody else initially said it was a slap. Gabby, one of the witnesses, says he smacked her with his left hand. She's consistent with he raised his left hand. Mr. Alexander Vang, one of the high school kids, says he hit her with an open hand with his left hand. AJ, he says he saw him pull her hair, which nobody's going to say. That's just wrong. Nobody's going to say anything along those lines. Dante, the person who laid him out after he said that, spoke with the police. And initially what he said to the police is I saw Mew make a swift motion to Riley Madison. Then he says, I saw Mew make a motion towards Riley Madison. Then he says, I saw Mew make a swift motion to Riley Madison. Then he says a fourth time, swift motion, Riley Madison. I don't know what he's going to say when he comes up there now, but what he said before isn't a punch, and it wasn't to Madison Cohen. That's when the violence begins, right? They attracted the crowd. They moved in closer. Now, one of the things you're going to want to ask, and we will ask that, is when this happens, this group of 13 is around and the old man gets knocked and he's down in the ground. Listen to the video. Is there anybody in the group that says, whoa, this is out of hand? No. You'll hear when he gets knocked on the ground, the volume goes up. The cackling and the laughing goes up. And the videographer pushes people away to get in closer to document the beatdown as well as he can. This isn't somebody that's just taking a video on the side. And again, we move around. Dante Carlson is confident enough to still have the beer in his hand while this happens. Mew's response is in self-defense, right? People come at him, and he makes a quick, short jab motion. He believes he has to use the knife because he's outnumbered. AJ Martin once. Riley Madison once. Dante Carlson twice, but he only has 2 stitches. Isaac Schumann once. Dante Carlson once. When they come at him, he gives a quick jab. They back up. He doesn't lunge for them. He doesn't follow them. He doesn't recklessly swing it around. They come at him after they gave him a beat down, and he jabs up. When even Brandy Hart, I think you're going to hear from her, right? When Mr. Trofsky asked her questions. When people attacked Mew, he responded. She agrees with that. So what happens is pretty much all on video, right? At the end, the judge is going to read you that jury instruction similar to what he did about credibility. And how much of credibility is going to play a part in this trial is going to be up to you. You guys are the finders of fact. You decide what happened. But I'd submit to you, it's all on video. Pretty much know what happened because it's on video. All right? So we can talk about credibility. Nick spoke with the police, right? He told them he was afraid. He told them he feared for his life. He told them he was acting in self-defense. He also told them, I don't really remember anything. And he lied to the police about the knife. He did. He lied about the knife. It was his knife. He brought it. He was outnumbered. He believed he needed to use it. The truth is, he used it because he was surrounded by that angry mob and he was afraid, right? They gave him every reason to be afraid. When their attacks stopped, he walked away. When they stopped, kept coming at him, and every one of them coming at him, right? He responded like a victim of trauma response. You'll hear from witnesses in his group who will say he looked like he was in shock. He was white as a ghost. From his perspective, right? He had just been attacked by an angry mob who was trying to kill him, and he got his way, he got out of there. So as he walks back, he still has fear, right? It's not something that just goes away. That fear is deep inside of him at that point. And as he walks away, he wants nothing to do with the group that just attacked him. He wants nothing to do with the knife, and he tosses it up onto the shore. Maybe not the best decision. Maybe not how he should have responded. But he was suffering from serious shock and trauma at that time. That's what he did. It's not going to be a contested fact. He looks back to his group, right? And they'll say that he's wide-eyed, he's white as a ghost. Remember, he'd just been repeatedly hit in the head, pushed down into the water. His body continued to respond in that way. When he walked away, he knew he'd done some quick jab motions. He didn't know the extent of anyone's injuries. Did he hear them yelling? Sure. They'd been yelling for 2 minutes, screaming and yelling at him. He had been in trauma at that point. He didn't know what the yelling was about. He didn't know that anyone had died. Maybe he should have. Okay, fair enough. But in that situation, would you expect him who'd just been attacked and responded in just short, quick jab motions to know the extent of everyone's injuries? They go back and everyone's like waiting. Traffic on the river pretty much shuts down and they wait there. When the police come by and kind of basically move everybody along, his group moves along to the exit. He's got his hat and his sunglasses and his shirt on, just like he did at the start of the trip. Right? He's been in shock. He'll tell you he was cold. So there's really, these are the 3 things that you need to think about, right? 1, what happened? Don't think it's going to be a big mystery. It's on video. And I hope that that's helpful to you. Because the facts, I don't think, are going to be very contested. 2, you are going to be asked, what did Nick believe? Right? He told the police, and he'll tell you, he feared for his life. In that moment, against that group who were violent with him and knocked him down, he feared for his life. Right? The video evidence supports this. Right? And I'd ask you rhetorically, what other reason is there? What other reason could there be? They came at him. He was in fear. He responded. The last question. Were his beliefs reasonable? I don't want to belabor the point about the law, right? Can't find it right away. But it's from his viewpoint, right? It's from his standpoint. A belief may be reasonable even though mistaken. In determining whether Nick Mew's beliefs were reasonable, the standard is what a person of ordinary intelligence and prudence would have believed in Nick Mew's position under the circumstances that existed at the time of the alleged offense. So what do we know that might help you to decide that, right? We know he walked away and they followed. We know he tried explaining to them and they said, it doesn't matter. We know they told lies about him to incite the crowd. We know he knows that those were lies, and he was watching as this crowd gets louder and more intense and bigger. We know they cut him off from where he wanted to go back up to his wife and his friends. We know that somebody else that was watching, who was kind of like Nick, a little bit younger, about the same fitness level though. And when that person, Quentin Carlson, sees what's going on, his first thought is, there's something bad that's going to happen to that old guy. We know he was surrounded. We know he was outnumbered. And we know that this environment was ripe for violence. That's the environments they carry. And we know that Nick is fragile. He believed he was fragile. This is somebody who went through open heart surgery within a couple of years. He didn't have fitness. They attacked him, kept attacking him. They gave him every reason to believe they weren't going to stop. Were his beliefs reasonable? This is Isaac Schumann. I'm sure he is a wonderful man, wonderful human being. We're going to hear a lot about him. But in this moment, on this day, on that river, when he was drunk, he tried to strangle Nick Mew. His hands were on his throat. He was pushing up against Nick Mew. And Nick reaches out as he's falling back. That's what Nick did. His belief at the time, when he's being strangled after being constantly attacked, was he needed to get out of there. And the only way that he could do that was with his knife. He believed his life was in danger. We submit to you under those circumstances. That's reasonable. At the end of the trial, we're going to come back up here, right? We'll be back up here, and we're going to ask you to return a verdict of not guilty on all counts. The judge will tell you on that last day, he'll tell you the law. If you can reconcile the evidence upon any reasonable hypotheses consistent with Nick's innocence, you must return a verdict not guilty. Okay, just one more time. The judge will tell you, if you can reconcile the evidence on any reasonable hypotheses consistent with Nick's innocence, you must do so. You must return a verdict of not guilty. Only reasonable hypothesis in this case is he feared for his life. And that belief was not unreasonable. They created that world to get that environment. In that world, he believed it in that moment. And that's reasonable, because anyone in that situation would believe the same. So at the end, we'll ask you to do your duty.
In a moment, we will hear from the state's first witness. Members of the jury, members of the gallery, if you want to stand and stretch, you may. We are not going to take a recess. I'll give
Bear with me. I will show you the document very, very quickly now. before they get the first witness in. I've highlighted it. So if you see here, Nick said he'd drank a lot of beer today. However, I couldn't smell any odor of intoxicants coming from his person. Nick said he didn't drink hard alcohol since his quadruple bypass about a year and a half ago. Nick said part of the reason he was so afraid of the group that attacked him was because he wasn't in the best of health. So he says Nick said he drank a lot of beer today. However, I couldn't smell any odor on him. That's from the lead detective.
State call Stephen Kaufman.
Can you spell the last name?
Kaufman.
Mr. Kaufman, please come forward. And stop right there, face the clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you are about to give in this matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth that you got?
Please have a seat in the witness chair. Mr. Anderson.
Can you please state your first and last name for the record?
Stephen Kaufman,
And how do you spell your last name?
Kaufman.
And do you usually go by Steve or Steven?
Steve,
Steve, what do you do for a living?
I'm the owner of River's Edge Campground.
What is River's Edge?
River's Edge is a campground and tubing, wedding reception facility.
Okay. And where is it at?
The exact address?
No, just is it in Somerset, the township?
We're in New Richmond.
And permission to approach?
Yes.
I'm handing it, it's been marked as exhibit 25. Does that appear to be a map of the route tubers take from your campground?
Yes.
And permission to publish, Judge?
Any objection? All right, you may.
Move to admit also.
Any objection? 25 is received.
So the arrow on the top right, is that where your campground is located?
That is correct.
And is that about where it's going, where campers or tubers, enter the river?
It would be just to the right or upstream of that arrow. So the arrow would point about where our bridge is. And so just to the right more in this map, it shows a little island there. It'd be right next to that island.
Okay. You want to actually just come straight in on here? Okay, thank you. And you see the arrow marking Hideaway? What's that?
That is another campground and tubing facility.
Is that a common place where tubers will stop if they leave from your place?
Yes.
And what's there for, why do tubers come to stop there? Is there a beach, bar?
They have a bar there, yes.
Okay. And then is the exit where tubers get off of the river identified on that map?
It is.
And is that about where that arrow is, a little off?
Oh, that's about correct.
Okay. And that, you see where that arrow is that says incident location?
Yes,
Are you familiar with that location of the river also?
I am.
And does that bridge, that 35 bridge, have another name that people call it?
Not that I'm aware of.
Have you heard it referred to as the Sunrise Bridge or no?
I have,
Don't know
because
why.
there's a campground that used to be called Sunrise Park, and
Okay.
so that's why they call it that.
All right. And then the exit is the Village Park exit.
Correct.
This whole river route, is that in St. Croix County, Wisconsin?
It is.
If you know, how many tubers about would you get on a typical nice weather Saturday in the summer back in 2022?
River's Edge that day we had approximately 12 to 1,500.
On July 30th, 2022?
That particular day, I thought your question was on a nice
Oh.
weather Saturday,
Okay.
but I don't know the exact number for that day, but I'm believing it was in the 1,000 range.
Okay. And when tubers rent, do they rent tubes from you?
They do.
And would you normally see families? Is it known to be kind of a party scene, family scene mix?
I love mixed.
Okay.
River's Edge really strives to get as many families as possible, but yeah, you get mixed.
Okay. And when groups tube together, do they often tie their tubes together?
Correct.
Do you guys sell pre-cut string for tubers to do that?
We do.
And you did back in July of 22 also?
Correct.
About how long does it take to tube from the start to the exit?
Takes about 2 to 2.5 hours on a normal day. Of course, that can fluctuate with river levels and the speed of the water. And that would be without stopping.
Okay. So it depends on how fast the current is.
Correct.
And then it depends on how long and how often people stop.
Correct.
And do you happen to know about how long it takes to tube from the 35 bridge to the exit?
It's about 30 minutes.
Okay. And how about from the Hideaway Bar to the 35 bridge?
You have similar time. You can see on the map, it's about similar distance as well. So say 30 to 45 minutes for both of those.
And were you working on July 30th, 2022?
Yes, I was.
And at some point, did you get word of an incident on the river?
I did.
Do you remember what you were doing?
I was on my way to the exit just to check on my staff and check on, we collect the tubes from the tubers and just do a normal check-in. And Mike Cappers happened to be there at his bus stop and told me about it.
And so you guys, for both, and Mike Cappers is the old owner of Hideaway.
Correct.
And so you guys tubers would go down through the river, either through your place or through the Hideaway, and then all of you would pick up at the Village Park?
Correct.
You have buses going back and forth?
Yes.
And where did you go then once you heard about it?
I went to where he told me the incident had happened, and so I was on my little moped scooter and I drove to the incident.
What was the scene like when you got there?
A large police presence and an ambulance, and
Calm, orderly, chaotic?
I wouldn't say it was chaotic. People were moving at a rapid speed, but it seemed organized.
Were tubers still coming through?
No, we had directed everyone to get off at the Hideaway location at that. By the time I got there, we had already had people directing people off of the river.
And is that something law enforcement asked you to do, or did you just figure you should, if you remember?
I think it was a little of both.
Okay. And at some point, did you get a description of the person who had stabbed people?
I did. When I got to the scene, I ran into a couple who I assumed were husband and wife, and asked them what happened, what was going on. And they said they were tubing with their children, a little upstream from them. They heard some shouting, and by the time they got there, this had happened, and they don't know exactly what had happened. There was a gentleman that they said was, middle-aged man that left the scene.
At some point, did you get a photo of the person who was alleged to have been done the stabbings that was going around?
I did then, so maybe 15 to so minutes, 10 minutes later, then Mr. Cappers texted me a photo that had, I don't know where he got it from or how he got it, but said this is a picture of the person.
Did you forward that photo on to your staff?
I did, yes.
And did you also have a friend with you that day?
I did. He wasn't with me, but he was at this location when I got there. So
what was his name?
Carl Schilling.
And then did you either give or show him the photo?
At that time, no. Because we didn't have it yet. I'd left.
Okay.
I had left before I got the photo.
Did you send it to him at some point, if you remember?
I don't remember.
Okay. You might have, you might not have.
You're right.
Your friend's name was Carl Schilling, the one that was in the area?
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that whether Carl or a staff member later alerted law enforcement to somebody matching the description at the Village Park exit?
I am.
Was that Carl and one of your employees?
Correct.
And I should have clarified, Carl and an employee, two different people.
Correct.
Because Carl's a friend, not an employee.
Yes.
Okay. Do you guys, I forgot to ask this before.
Sure.
You rent tubes for just people and also for like cooler tubes?
We do rent a cooler tube. It's just another tube with a basket or a space for people to float.
Okay. I don't have anything else.
Mr. Nelson?
Carl Schilling, I want to ask you some questions about him, okay?
Yes.
Was he the guy with the baseball bat that went hunting for Nick Mew?
I wasn't with him, so.
Okay, but you heard about that. You're aware that he grabbed a bat and went hunting for Nick, right?
I heard that he had a bat, yes.
Okay. And that at some point while holding that bat, he confronted Nick Mew
That's what I heard, yes.
at the exit, correct?
Correct.
I want to ask you some other questions just about the Riverway, okay?
Yes.
You own some property, correct?
Yes.
But the river itself, that's public space. Agreed?
Agreed.
Everyone, if once you're on the river, anyone can use it, correct?
Of course.
No one has more right to be on a river than anybody else, right?
No, sir.
You agree?
I agree.
And certainly no one has more claim to a particular space than anyone else. Agreed?
Agreed.
You've heard the expression, stay in your lane, I would imagine.
Yes.
And roads have designated lanes. Is that right?
Yes.
And you would agree that there are certain responsibilities to do certain things in a particular lane, right?
Sure. Yes.
The river, there's no designated lane.
No.
Sometimes everyone's going in the same direction, hopefully.
Correct.
But as far as lanes and designated spaces, it's a bit of a free-for-all, right?
It is a natural river,
And the
water
space,
is going to take you. The water will guide you where you need to go.
but the people that are on the river and have the ability to move amongst themselves on the river, they're free to go wherever they want on the river, right?
Yes.
And sometimes there might be some groups that are more dominant than other groups on the river, right? That happens.
Checked on relevance and speculation.
This is staying on form. It's vague. Can you be more specific?
Sure. You rent tubes to lots of different groups, right?
We do.
As you said, some are perhaps younger teenagers, young adults. Yes?
From 6 to 106. Yes.
Yep. And some are grown adults in their 40s or 50s, correct?
Of course.
Sometimes you rent to a group of 2 people, right?
Yes.
Sometimes you rent to a group of 6 people.
Correct.
Or 10 people.
Yes.
And it all depends upon there's different sizes of different groups, correct?
Yes, sir.
And in your experience, there have been some groups that have been larger and louder than other groups?
Sure.
And sometimes there's other groups that might be quieter than other groups, right?
Sure.
Maybe depending on the group that you're at, you might have different goals or objectives for the day, correct?
Correct.
I'm sure, again, you're not encouraging you, but you're aware that there might be some groups that their goal and objective is to go there and get drunk, right?
Sure.
You're aware of that, right?
I am.
And then there might be other people that are just there to enjoy a peaceful day with their friends, right?
Yes.
And sometimes these groups interact, correct?
Correct.
You would agree that the larger and the louder groups don't have any more right to be in a particular place than the quiet groups, do they?
No.
Do you give any messages that to the renters of your tubes to say, like, look, if you see a loud and a large loud group, you need to back away and give them distance right away?
No.
Individuals have the right to be there just as much as everybody else, right?
Correct.
So on the river, it is simple as, does might make right? If you're just larger and louder, you get a right to that spot or not?
I wouldn't think so, no.
Those are the only questions. Thank you.
Mr. Anderson, do you have anything else?
Since we're asking hypotheticals, I guess. If nobody owns any of the river, it's public.
Correct.
You also wouldn't want somebody harassing another group of tubers.
No.
Nothing else.
Mr. Nelson?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Kaufman. You're free to leave. Is he still under subpoena?
Yes, sorry, yes.
He's free to leave.
Yes.
All right. Thank you.
Judge, this is just a blown up version. Do you want me to just write 13 on it or put a separate sticker on it?
So the 8x11 is 25.
Or 25, I'm sorry, yes.
Mark the blow up as 25A. Yeah, we can take care of that perhaps later. All right, who is the next witness?
State calls Ryan Nelson.
Mr. Nelson, please come forward. Stop right there. You can look closer. Turn, face the clerk, raise your right hand. She will administer the oath.
Do you swear that the testimony you're about to give is the matter shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Please have a seat in the witness chair.
Judge, before we begin, we have an agreement on a couple exhibits.
Okay, what's the agreement?
The agreement is that Exhibit 2, the video that of the main video would be admitted, as well as the individual frames, which is marked Exhibit 3.
Is that correct, Mr. Trofasi?
Yes.
All right, so Exhibit 2 and 3 will be received.
And then we have an agreement that now, before we start taking testimony, we'll publish Exhibit 2 of the video.
You're going to play the video.
Yes.
All right. Members of the jury, you're about to see the video that they have been referring to. Please pay attention. Please listen carefully. Parts of it may be difficult to hear. The video that you're about to see is evidence, so you may consider this along with the other evidence during this trial.
Can we dim the lights a little bit?
Yeah, we've just turned down a bank or two over the monitor space. Nothing happened.
It's up.
Did the lights go down?
No, they did over there, maybe.
Oh, no, try a different bank.
We only have 2 servers.
How's that? Is that okay?
I think
Everybody
so.
see? Okay, I think that'll do it.
What is he on? Whoa! 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 Where's the way? Oh God! We up! We up! What are you talking about? What the hell are you talking about? What? Get away from us! What? What's going on with y'all homie? He's on camera. Tripping. He's on 4K. Yo, the new iPhone got that good quality. What do you say? Yeah, what the hell? Who is this? Yes. Further culture! Further culture! Who is that? Further culture! Who is that? Who the hell is this? Bro, it doesn't matter. He said he was looking for little girl! He said he was looking for little girl! You're looking for little girl? Yeah! That's exactly what he said. We're in the house! I didn't have that part on camera, did I? What the hell is this guy's problem, bro? We're trying to have fun. He's gonna claim you. He's gonna claim you. We don't want this one, bro. Get on camera. Oh, God. Oh, God. He ain't a woman. He ain't a woman. You ain't a woman. He ain't a woman. You got him. No. What the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? He's dying. He's dying, bro. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are we serious? Is it real? Oh my god. Who is that? Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you real? Are you real? Oh my god. Oh my god, what the fuck? Are you real? Is this real? Like, that's not Bike! That's not Bike! That's not Bike! That's not Bike! That's not Isaac! Oh my god! Oh my god! This isn't real! This isn't real!
Mr. Anderson, or Mr. Smithstead, sorry.
Can you say your name for the record, please?
Ryan Nelson,
And how old are you, Ryan?
18.
What do you do for a living?
I work in the trades.
Are you a drywall installer or something along
Yeah,
those lines?
drywall finisher.
Where do you live?
Stillwater.
Were you familiar with a person named Isaac Schumann?
Yes.
How did you know him?
He was one of my best friends
How long were you best friends with Isaac?
since middle school.
Do you recall the day of July 30th of 2022?
Yes.
Were you with Isaac on that day?
Yes.
Were you with him when he was killed?
Yes.
How old were you back on July 30th of 2022?
17.
Had you finished high school yet?
No.
What grade were you in?
Summer going into senior year.
On July 30th of 2022, had you made some plans to spend time with your friends that day on the Apple River and near Somerset?
Yes.
What was the plan? How did the day start?
Well, we texted the night before and made plans to meet up, and I'll go tubing on the Apple River.
Where did you meet up at?
Stillwater High School.
Who was in your group that day?
Me, Isaac, Owen, Jawan, Landon, Alex.
Judge, I can approach the witness.
Yes.
All right, I'm going to show you what's been marked as Exhibit 62. You recognize that?
Yeah.
Can you tell us what it is?
It's a picture of all my friends over there.
Fair to say it's a composite picture.
Yes.
Are those pictures of you folks from the river on July 30th of 2022?
Yes.
Are those photos from after the incident with Mr. Mew?
Yes.
Does that explain the looks on your faces?
Yes.
Your Honor, permission to publish to the jury. I have a blow up.
Any objection to 62?
No.
All right, 62 is received. Go ahead and publish. The other side might be easier because it doesn't have the paper.
When you got to Stillwater High School that day, was the plan to all ride together over to the Apple River?
Yes.
Who drove?
Alex Hang.
And I have you look at Exhibit 62 there that you're holding on to. Can you identify the folks in the picture for the jury? From left to right.
Alex Vang, Juwan Cockfield, Owen Peliquin, me, Ryan Nelson, Landon Wire, and then Isaac Schumann.
That's Isaac in the hat on the right.
Yes.
Is that what you were all wearing on the river that day?
Yes.
You may have already answered this, but who drove from Stillwater over to the Apple River?
Alex Vang.
And y'all went in his vehicle?
Yep.
Where did you go first?
We went right up to park where we got the tubes. River's Edge, I think it's called.
You rented tubes there?
Yeah.
You remember how many tubes you rented?
One for each of us, and then one more for our stuff, I believe.
All right. When they give you the tubes, are they connected together, or do you connect them together there?
You had to get a wire, like a twine, to connect them together.
Did you do that?
Yes.
Did you make sort of one big raft out of your tubes?
Yes.
After you rented the tubes, did you get on the river right away, or were you hanging out in the park?
No, we went right straight to the river.
All right. Do you know what time it was when you got on the river?
Not exactly. Probably roughly around noon.
Judge, if I can approach the witness again.
Yes.
Brian, when you rented the tubes, do you remember who paid for them?
No.
All right. Do you remember getting a receipt?
No, I don't.
All right. I'll show you that's been marked as exhibit 27B. We'll take a look at that. And specifically look at the backside. Whose name's at the top?
Alex Vang.
Who's that?
He's one of my friends. He's on the river.
All right. At the bottom, there's a time for when you rented your tubes. Can you tell us what that is?
12:39.
You didn't see this that day at all?
No, I don't remember.
Your Honor, I'll move to admit that exhibit. I don't know if there's any objection to it.
Any objection?
Well, there's no foundation.
Sustained.
We'll wait till.
That's fine.
Once you got on the river, did you folks bring drinks with you?
Yes.
In a cooler of some sort?
Yes.
What were you drinking?
Beers and seltzers.
All right. You're 17 at the time?
Yes.
Do you remember how many beers you had?
I personally had about 3 to 4.
Were you or other folks in your group smoking marijuana?
Yes.
Was Isaac Schumann smoking any marijuana?
I don't think so, no.
As you're going down the river, did you eventually have contact with the defendant, Mr. Mew?
Yes.
Do you know where it was when you first saw him?
Where the incident happened.
Sure. Were you near any landmarks that you can remember?
A bridge.
What was he doing when you first approached him?
Well, he first approached us. He was snorkeling by our tubes.
Did you ask him what he was doing?
Yes, multiple times.
And what did he tell you?
He didn't say anything.
Did he ever tell you he was looking for a phone?
No.
Do you ever remember hearing him saying anything about looking for little girls?
No, not me personally.
All right. Ultimately, did you approach your group?
Yes.
You were here when we played the video in the court right before your testimony?
Yes.
The first part of that video, did you see Mr. Mew running up towards your group?
Yes.
Is that the legs of a couple of your friends in that video, the first few seconds of that video?
Yes.
That's your raft of tubes?
Yes.
As Mr. Mew is running up on your group, did he say anything about why he was running towards you?
No.
Did he say why he was grabbing onto your tubes?
No.
Were you able to see on the video that he was reaching towards where the legs were of the two people in the tubes that you can see in the video?
Yes.
Did he make physical contact with those folks?
He didn't make physical contact with me, so I know.
Did everybody bail out of their tubes once he ran up?
Yes.
Did you have some concern when you saw him running up and grabbing onto your tubes?
Yeah, a lot.
Did he say anything at all After you grabbed onto your tubes?
No.
Were you sitting or standing in your tube when he ran up?
Sitting.
Did you get up?
Yes.
Why?
I was scared.
Were you trying to get away from him?
Yes.
Did you say anything to him?
Yes, we asked him what he was doing, and we told him to leave multiple times.
All right. Fair to say you were raising your voice and yelling at him?
Yeah.
Like we saw in the video?
Mm.
Did you threaten him in any fashion?
No, not at all.
Did you hear Isaac Schumann threaten Mr. Mew in any fashion?
No.
Did you yourself have any kind of knife?
No.
Did you see anybody in your group with any kind of knife?
No.
Is it fair to say you were calling him some names?
Yeah.
Why were you doing that?
We had no idea of his intentions, and we asked him, and he never ever stated them.
At some point, were you yelling for him to get away?
Yes.
Did another group on the river come over to investigate what was going on?
Yes.
Did you know any of those people?
No.
Did you see where they came from?
Just the other side of the river.
Were they adults or were they kids?
Young adults.
Older than your group?
Yeah.
Once this other group came over, was it women or men, if you remember?
I believe 2 girls approached first.
All right. And what did they do when they approached?
Also told him to leave.
All right. Did he leave?
No.
Once these other folks came over to tell him to leave, did that change your level of concern with what he was doing?
Yeah.
In what way?
It was a little confusing and also concerning why he wasn't leaving. He could have just removed himself from the situation like everyone asked him to.
Did he ever tell you why he wanted to stay near your group?
No.
Is it fair to say that at some point you and your friends were laughing at him?
Yeah.
And why were you doing that?
We thought he was just really weird, to be honest.
Do you remember how many folks were in the group that came over to help you guys?
No.
Do you know how many times you told Mr. Mew, or you and your group told Mr. Mew to leave you alone?
More than I can count.
All right. Your Honor, we're going to show still 1219 from Exhibit 3.
Weird. I had updated it, but it didn't come on screen. Just using.
All right, Ryan, do you see the picture that's on the screen in front of you?
Yes.
That's still number 1219 from the video. Can you tell us who's in this picture?
Isaac Owen, and then I can't quite tell who that guy on the left is.
All right. Is Isaac, which one is Isaac?
Purple shorts.
Is he wearing a hat or not wearing a hat?
Wearing a hat.
What is Isaac doing in this picture?
Holding Owen. It looks like arm towards Owen and looking at Mr. Mew, maybe.
The person on the right, who's that?
Owen Pelican.
He was also in your group?
Yes.
What's he doing at that point?
It looks like saying something to Mr. Mew.
All right. Where were you when that, if you remember, where were you in location to this picture, or in relation to this picture?
I believe I was near Juwan and Landon.
Back behind the tubes?
Yeah.
Juwan's the person taking the video?
Yes.
1279. Now we're going to show still number 1279. All right, Brian, this is still frame 1279 from the video. What does this picture show?
Isaac with his hands raised.
All right, does he have anything in his hands?
No.
Who's that in front of Isaac?
Mr. Mew.
Are Isaac's hands open or closed in fists?
Open.
Can you tell, or do you remember what he was doing with his hands at that point?
No, just looks like he has his hands raised.
I'm going to show you now, still 1297 from the video. Who was in this picture?
Me.
That's you on the left?
Yep.
Holding onto the tubes?
Yes.
Mr. Me on the right?
Yes.
Is that Isaac, part of Isaac's arm in that photo?
Yes, looks like it.
All right, do you have anything in your hand in this photo?
No.
Referring to your right hand, your left hand you can't see, right?
Yeah, I didn't have anything in my left hand either, though.
Right. 2596. Showing you still frame 2596 from the video. Can you tell us what that is?
Me.
All right, and on the right, who's that, if you know?
I don't recognize her.
Is that one of the folks that came over to
Yeah.
help you out? Do you have anything in your hands there?
No.
At that point, you appear to be smiling.
Yeah.
While you were having this argument with Mr. Mew and trying to figure out what he was doing, were you able to see his face?
Yeah.
Did he look to be frightened?
No.
What kind of facial expression did he have?
He was smiling.
While you were having this argument with him, were you able to tell whether he had anything in his hands?
No.
Did you ever see him holding a knife?
No.
Fair to say the video shows that the incident happened pretty fast.
Yeah.
While the two women are talking to Mr. Mew, what happened next? What did he do?
He punched one of the girls in the face.
You remember which one it was?
I believe the blonde one. I'm not 100% sure though.
And looking back at the photo that we have up, which is 2596, is that where you were standing when he punched the blonde woman in the face?
Relatively, yeah.
So fairly close?
Yeah.
Prior to Mr. Mew punching the blonde woman, had you seen anybody strike him in any fashion?
No.
You didn't see anybody punch him?
No.
When you say he punched the lady, is it possible that he was flailing his arms to protect himself or something along those lines?
It looked like he struck her definitively with his right hand.
After the blonde woman was punched, what happened next?
I believe her friends tried to come to her rescue and push Mr. Mew to the ground and hit him and pushed him again.
You saw that?
Yeah.
Did you see him in the water?
Yes.
Do you remember how many times he was hit when he was in the water?
2 or 3 maybe, I believe.
All right. At some point, did he get on his hands and knees?
Yeah.
What happened next?
He got up, swinging his knife and stabbing everyone.
All right. At that point, did you know that he had a knife in his hand?
Yeah, well, I didn't know until I saw the person standing next to me who had his whole stomach cut open. And yeah.
The person who got his whole stomach cut open, was he holding any kind of knife?
No.
Did you see anybody in the group that came over to help you have any kind of weapons?
No.
What did you do after you realized that the one gentleman had his belly slit open?
I was in shock. I didn't really know what to do. I tried to tell my friends, so I'd make sure they were seeing what I was seeing. And then I went and stood in our tubes.
You left the general area?
Yeah.
Were you aware that Isaac had been stabbed?
Not for like a minute.
Eventually, did you realize that Isaac was down?
Yes.
Did you see him in the water?
Yes.
Did you see a wound on his body?
Yes.
Where was it?
His upper chest.
Was he bleeding?
Yes.
Ultimately, did you and then the rest of your group or were attempts made to help Isaac get to shore?
Yes.
Who did that?
Owen and Alex.
Right. And where were you at that point?
I was still standing in the tubes.
Were you injured at all?
No.
Did you ever lay a hand on Mr. Mew? After you realized that folks had been stabbed, did you see what Mr. Mew did?
No.
Did you see where he went?
Mm-mm.
Is that a no?
Yeah, no. Sorry.
We're going to show you still frame 3177. Can you tell us who's in this picture that you know of?
The only person I recognize is myself.
All right, you're in the blue trunks in the middle.
Yes.
Is this the point where Mr. Mew had punched the blonde woman?
Yes.
Did you take a step forward?
Yes.
Why'd you do that?
In her defense to help protect her.
All right. Did you end up doing anything to help protect her?
No.
I think you already testified some other gentleman took care of that.
Yes.
Whereabouts on her body did Mr. Mew punch the blonde woman?
I believe in her face.
Say that again.
In her face, I believe.
All right. At some point then, did you go to the area where Isaac was being laid on the shore of the river?
Yes.
Did you, the rest of your group also end up there?
Yes.
Did anybody call 911 if you know?
Yes.
You know who did that?
Not. I think a lot of people did. I don't know specifically.
Were there some folks that stopped to render aid to Isaac?
Yes.
Was one of them a nurse?
Yes.
What kind of aid did she give Isaac?
I wasn't over there. I'm not sure.
All right. Did you see anybody doing CPR on him?
I wasn't close enough.
All right. At some point, did the police arrive on the river?
Yes.
They waded through the water to get to where you folks were?
Yes.
Did you speak to the police officers?
After, yes.
Up on the shore?
Yep.
At some point, was Isaac taken off the river?
Yes.
Was he ultimately put in an ambulance and taken to a hospital?
Yes.
Did you follow?
Yes.
Do you remember which hospital they brought him to?
Is it Lakeview in Stillwater?
When you were at Lakeview Hospital, did you speak with an officer there as well?
Yes.
Even though this incident happened almost 2 years ago, do you still remember the face of the person who did this?
Yes.
Do you see him in the courtroom here?
Yes.
You point him out and say what he's wearing?
He's wearing a black suit, black pants, brown shoes.
Your Honor, that's the record to reflect identification of the defendant.
Next question, please.
Nothing further.
You search your office.
Oh, actually, yeah, it's on Exhibit 2. It's on there. Okay. Judge, the 9-second video is on Exhibit 2 also, which the state also moves to admit.
Any objection?
No, sir.
All right, it's received. Go ahead.
They're good. Okay, thanks. Give me a break.
I just don't want it on the, can you, the jury shouldn't see my screen.
Okay.
It's clear.
So, Mr. Nelson, you provided an interview with a
Clear. Monitor's off. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
with an investigator, Dittman. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And to start with, one of the things that Officer Dittman was interested in was how much alcohol you had consumed that day. Do you remember that?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And He told you weren't going to get in any trouble for anything. He just wanted the truth, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you indicated to him, well, he initially asked you if you guys were drinking any hard alcohol, right?
Yep.
And you said that you weren't.
Yep.
That's a lie, right?
No, I myself was not drinking hard alcohol.
You guys brought Tito's vodka in water bottles and were doing shots on the river?
I wasn't, but my friends were.
Okay. And you were asked about Isaac drinking that day.
Yes.
Right? And you had told Officer Dittman that you think you had 3 or 4 drinks.
Yes.
And you said, I think Isaac had about the same.
Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that Isaac's alcohol level was almost a 0.22?
Object, Your Honor.
I was not aware of that.
Hold on.
Foundation.
Come on up.
So that's going to be annoying every time it goes like that. I think that video was very compelling. Very compelling. I mean, I couldn't believe my eyes watching that video. In my opinion, he was just like a mob around him.
Objection overruled. Mr. Troffason.
Mr. Nelson, are you aware that Isaac Schumann's blood alcohol concentration was a 0.219?
No, I was not aware.
Okay. But you say that you guys were about the same, right, in alcohol level?
Well, I was just a guess. He asked me to provide an estimate, and I did. I wasn't keeping track of other people's drinks.
Right, but you provided that your estimate and
Yeah.
your drinking and his drinking were pretty close.
Yes.
So you were impaired, yes?
Slightly, yes.
Okay. And you were asked and gave some answers regarding your initial contact with Mr. Mew. Do you remember that?
Yep.
Okay, and you had said, if I have it right, he snorkeled by us and didn't say anything.
Yep.
Okay. Your interview with Detective or Investigator Dittman, you indicated, yeah, so this weird guy, he was wearing a snorkel at first, came up to us and was kind of like talking to us, and we were a little weirded out, right?
Yep.
So which one's true?
I don't remember him saying anything.
Okay, so when did you give the statement to Investigator Dittman?
Was that the one at the bank or the hospital?
How many interviews did you give?
2.
When did you give them, if you remember?
One was on the bank after the incident, and then one was at the hospital.
Is your memory better back then about what happened, or is it better today?
I'm not sure.
Well, do you remember things that happened closer in time to the event, or as more time goes by?
I think I remember them both the same.
So if something happened 2 years ago, you would remember it the same as if you were giving that statement a day or 2 after.
Yeah, I would try.
Okay. So you don't recall him saying anything to you guys, right?
Yeah.
Okay. But you all were saying something to him, weren't you?
Yes.
Yeah. You didn't tell that to Investigator Dittman, did you?
I don't remember.
You left out the fact that you guys started taunting him and tormenting him. Right?
After we told him to leave, yes.
Well, talking about the first time, not the second time that we've seen the video. The first time we haven't seen the video for yet.
Mm-hmm.
Do you remember that incident?
Yes.
Okay. You don't tell Investigator Dittman about what you guys were doing to Mr. Mew at that point, do you?
No.
Why not?
I just didn't think it was relevant.
You didn't think it was relevant on this person that you're saying did all these things to your friends? Wasn't relevant that you had contact with him earlier in that day?
It was like minutes, seconds before. It wasn't like earlier in the day. It was around the same time.
Right. And you didn't think it was relevant that you would inform him that you guys were taunting Mr. Mew and calling him names, right?
No.
Okay. I'm going to show you what has been marked as exhibit number 2. I'm going to play you a short video and ask you if you remember the video.
Okay.
We're going to keep the screens blank until you tell us you're ready. Does that mean you're ready, or are you
Yeah, sorry.
acknowledging?
Yes, we're ready, Judge. I apologize. Playing the 9-second video on Exhibit 2. Trying to.
Grown man trying to have sex with little girls. What the hell? What the fuck? He's a raper. Whoa.
So he's walking by you guys. He's not right on top of you there, is he?
He was previously, but not that in that moment. No, he's not.
So your friend just didn't get that on video.
No, we started taking a video once he was being weird towards us. We wouldn't have videoed him just out of the blue.
So when he was just walking by there and your friend just started saying, you can't have sex with little girls, right?
That was after he was snorkeling under our tubes without saying anything.
Where do you tell Officer Investigator Dittman that he was snorkeling underneath your tubes?
By our tubes.
Oh, so by your tubes, not underneath your tubes.
Misspoke. I apologize.
Okay. So he's snorkeling by your tubes.
Yep.
And you guys start calling him names.
No, we asked what he was doing and who he was, why he was there. Because we found it a little weird that he was not in a tube like everyone else, but he was snorkeling right by our tubes. And so we asked him what he was doing. He never said anything. So then we started calling him names, yeah.
Okay. And the purpose of you don't know him, do you?
No.
The purpose of calling a grown man that you've never met a raper.
That wasn't me.
Okay. The purpose of, do you know why that was said?
No.
To your knowledge, had Mr. Cockfield ever met Mr. Mew before?
No.
Okay. You think it was funny?
No.
Did you ever tell him to stop?
No.
Okay. And shortly after this is when Mr. Mew moves toward your tubes. Is that right?
Yeah, when he runs at us.
Okay. And your statement to Investigator Dittman is that Mr. Mew was standing over your tubes. Is that true?
Yes.
Okay. Do you know why he came up to your tubes?
No.
Was Jawan Cockfield holding a camera at that time?
Yes.
I'm sorry?
Yes.
Okay. And to your knowledge, Mr. Mew he comes up to your tubes, then he walks around the tubes and actually starts to walk away from you guys, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Okay. So you're saying, your group is saying, get away, go. And he's doing that, right?
Not really.
You just said he was walking away.
But he didn't leave. He didn't walk away. He just walked a couple of steps and then stayed near.
And you guys follow.
No.
You don't advance toward him? Your group doesn't advance
We
toward him?
stayed by our tubes. As you saw in the still frames, I'm standing right next to our tubes.
You showed us the still frame, we saw the still frame involving Isaac Schumann, right?
Yeah.
When he's got his arms up in the air like this, right?
Yes.
He's not standing next to his tube, is he?
I don't know. He might be. He might be able to see this tubes in the picture. I can't remember.
He's confronting Mr. Mew, isn't he?
No, had his hands up, raised. He was telling him to leave also. There's no confrontation at that point.
I guess what I'm trying to ask you here, Mr. Nelson, is you guys told him to leave, so he moves away from you. Then your group moves toward him. That's true, right?
I don't think he left. You keep saying he leaves, and he never really left.
Can you just bring it? I'd rather just see the video. Sure. I'm going to show you, I'm just going to play for you a really short portion of the video that you've already seen.
Okay.
Okay? And I want you to tell me when you watch it, if it appears to you that Mr. Mew is walking away from your group.
Okay.
Okay?
Oh, wait. Keep it out until he's ready. Hold on a second. Yeah.
Yes, we're ready.
So at 27 seconds, Mr. Nelson, I want you to watch this video first for a brief moment.
On camera. Scripted. I'm 14. Yo, the new iPhone got that good quality. What do you say?
So he's walking away from where your tubes are.
Yeah.
Is that true?
Yeah, but at the end of the video, you can see him turn his body back towards us, and then I assume he walked back towards us.
You don't know if he did.
We could watch the rest of the video and find out.
Well, we will, but your group walks toward him, right? You keep saying they
Yeah.
don't, and it's clear they're moving in his direction, yes?
Yes.
Okay. And you're moving in his direction because you've testified that you're scared, right?
Our tubes were all still right around our tubes. That's our property. We're not like.
How come you don't go around him? You've said that he could.
What do you mean?
Hold on. You said he could leave, right?
Yeah.
He could have walked away. You could have walked away, right?
Yeah.
You didn't walk away either, did you?
No.
And that river, anybody can use that river, if we're being honest with one another, true?
Yeah.
Okay. So he doesn't have any more responsibility to walk away than you guys do, does he?
Nope.
Okay. And if I said to you that at some point this other group starts coming over, is that right?
Yes.
Okay. And at that point, are you guys calling him a pedophile?
I think, yeah, we were previously.
You were previously calling him a pedophile.
Like we were shouting, and that's, I think, why they came over.
Okay. And I'm sorry, you said you believe that's why they came over?
They heard us shouting, so I
Sure.
believe, yeah.
And certainly to you, shouting pedophile could be something that would draw people's attention, right?
Yes.
So you don't have any information that he was looking for small children, do you?
No.
Okay. You'd agree, calling somebody a pedophile isn't the same thing as calling somebody like a jerk or an a-hole or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
That's like you're telling somebody, or you're telling people this guy's looking to have sex with small children, right?
I didn't say that.
That's what a pedophile is, though, you know, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys, to a man you've never met before, have no information about, people in your group are yelling on the river that he's a pedophile. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. And by your own admission, you believe that draws the attention of another group of people to come over.
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember independently, I know you've seen the video now, do you remember independently, he walks away from you guys kind of over to her, doesn't he? Like walking toward you. Is that true?
Yes.
And she, to your recollection, immediately tells him, go get your fucking ass, go. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. So in terms of what you can see, she doesn't wait to find out what's actually happening either, does she?
No.
Right?
Yep.
She jumps into this and is yelling for Mr. Mew to go without knowing anything about what had happened based on the contact you had.
Yes.
Okay. And you describe her to police as, quote, getting in his face. Is that fair?
Yep.
What do you mean by that?
She was yelling at him to leave.
Well, you could yell at me to leave from here, right?
Yeah. She was right. She was close to him, right in front of him.
Okay, so I won't invade your space, but what in your definition of getting in someone's face is getting close to them. Is that fair?
Yeah.
Okay. And is it in part based on the volume of her voice too?
Yeah.
Okay. So if I said to you, what you observed is this woman, her name is Madison Cohen, but she is close to his face yelling at him. Is that
Yes.
fair? Yes?
Yep.
Okay. And at that point, he's alone, to your knowledge, right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And that's a yes.
Yes. Sorry.
And initially, there's 6 guys in your group.
Yep.
And you say that 2 females come over.
Yes.
Okay. More people come over as this continues on. Is that true?
Correct.
Okay. So at one point, it's at least, if you know, it's at least 10, 12 versus 1, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you, well, can I ask you this? Do you believe that the situation was getting, that the temperature was rising in terms of the situation as time was passing?
Maybe a little, yeah.
Okay, so it started out maybe here, and as time is going, the blonde shows up, it starts getting more and more heated. Is that fair?
A little, yeah.
Okay. So in a situation where it's getting more and more heated, would you agree that physically putting your hands on another person in that situation could be a show of aggression?
I'm going to object, Your Honor. That calls for a conclusion.
Sustained.
Did you see Madison Cohen, the blonde girl, put her hands on Nick Mew?
No.
Did you see her at any point move him or redirect him with her hands?
No.
Okay. So you had said that his presence here made you afraid.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to show you. Do you recall ever saying personally in your contact, you got 10 seconds?
No, I don't remember saying that.
So you're not saying that you said it?
I don't remember saying that, no.
Okay. Do you recall other people in your group? Do you remember hearing that being said?
No.
Okay. To you is a statement, if I said to you, you got 10 seconds, is that something that you would take as a show of aggression?
Objection, Your Honor. It's same objection.
It's what?
It's the same objection. It's called
Sustained.
Can you play the video? So I need you to listen to this,
Okay.
Mr. Nelson, and it might take more than once, but I want you to listen to hear if you hear someone in your group saying that, okay?
I'm going to play from the 35-second mark to the 45-second mark. I think it happens at the 39-second or the 39.
Please tell us when you're ready for the video.
Ready.
What do you say?
Did you hear that?
No.
Okay, can you play it at least one more time?
And again at 36 seconds.
What do you say?
So you hear somebody say you got 10 seconds, right?
No.
Okay, so somebody in your group is saying you've got 10 seconds.
Yeah.
Okay. And at that point, are you still frightened?
Just more weirded out now.
Okay, so it goes from frightened to weirded out.
Yeah, he had moved away from us a little bit, so I was more scared when he ran at us and grabbed our tubes, and then it became more like, who's this guy? I'm more weirded out.
Okay. Did it go from then weirded out to not really afraid at all?
Yeah.
Right. There comes a point that you've seen on here where your group has kind of surrounded Mr. Mew, and you're all taunting and pointing at him. Is that right?
I want to object, Your Honor, to the term surrounded. I think it's a mischaracterization of the
Why not?
video.
Have no information about it. Yelling on the river. Okay.
So I've downloaded it, I've snipped it, I've got the video ready. I got the video ready for once I take a break. Downloaded it separately.
So you would agree that your group had moved around him, and you watched the video. You're all pointing at him, taunting him, calling him a predator, right?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. So is it fair to say at that point the fear has left you?
Yeah.
Okay. And do you personally feel more confident because the other group has come over?
Maybe a little.
Okay. So fair if I said strength in numbers. The more people that are around, the more confident you're becoming. Is that fair?
I guess I lost fear that he was going to do something weird to us. Yeah.
Okay. And the other people coming over helped you lose that fear?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah.
Because you had a lot of people around, right?
Yeah.
Now, can I ask you, I don't want to get too close to you, but you say that, if this is fair, Madison Cohen, blonde girl.
Yep.
Is she in his face when she gets punched?
I would say she's at the same distance she was the whole time. So yeah.
Okay, so she's in his face, right?
Sure. Yeah.
Would you say that's in his personal space?
Maybe.
Okay. So, based on your recollection, she may be standing in his personal space yelling at him, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, can you tell me, you said on direct examination that Mr. Amu punches her in the face with his right hand.
Mm-hmm.
Is that true?
Yes.
You believe that to be true?
I believe he struck her with his right hand. Yes.
Okay. Are you aware that at the time that he would have struck her, he was holding onto a knife?
No, I was not aware.
Okay. If I told you that fact is true, would that change your opinion?
No.
You would still say a man who's holding a knife struck her in the face with his fist.
Yeah. The knife is not in front of his fist.
Okay, so you think that the knife is in his hand and he comes across and punches her in the face?
Yes.
Okay. And do you remember would he have hit her on the left or the right side?
The right side, I believe. She fell down towards the left.
Okay, so
sorry, I'm getting confused. Left side, I guess.
Okay, so you believe he's holding a knife in his hand and he punches her in the left side of her face?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you see any marks on her?
No, I didn't. I don't think they had time to be marks or really check before everything happened.
Okay, but my question is, you don't see her having any marks on her face, true?
No, I didn't check for marks.
Okay. And you say that she goes down, is that right?
Yes.
All right. So I'm going to show you. Okay. You have an issue with JPEG or the 2644, the photo of it. Okay.
Okay.
So now at 2644, I think you've testified you're moving forward.
Yes.
Okay. I do. Keep going. Okay, right there. So we've gone from 2644 to 2653, right?
Mm-hmm.
That blonde is the girl that you said was punched in the face and went down, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Would you agree she's holding on to her drink? See that?
Yes.
And can we go one or two more, Aaron? Looks like she's got a cell phone tucked in her trunks on the top. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. You'd agree she doesn't go down, right?
If that was the woman that was punched, then
Well, she's the blonde, right?
yeah,
Okay. So you'd agree now looking at this, she doesn't go down.
yeah.
Okay. You believed that she did go down though?
Yeah, maybe it was just a stumble on. I guess I'm not sure. My attention was quickly averted to Mr. Mew after that.
Okay. All right. You had provided information or a statement to Officer Dittman. He had asked you about any contact that Isaac may have had with
Yeah.
Mr. Mew. Do you remember that?
Yes.
Okay. And I think you had indicated that you never saw that happen. You never saw Isaac make physical contact with Mr. Mew.
Yes.
Okay. Have you seen, you watched the video, right?
Yes.
Okay. So now you're aware that Isaac has his hands around Mr. Mew's throat?
I didn't know that he had his hands around him, so no.
You didn't see that?
No.
Okay. Is that something that you saw?
No. That was pretty late. That was, I think Isaac was the last one stabbed on video. And so by that time I was focused on the guy next to me who had his whole stomach cut open.
Okay, but I guess my point is, initially you say you didn't see Isaac make contact with him. You see on that video somebody with their hands around Mr. Mew's throat, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And you don't know if that's Isaac or not?
No. We can watch it again and I can tell you what I think, but I don't.
Is he wearing a bracelet, like a gold bracelet on his wrist?
I don't remember.
Okay. Now, can I ask you this? No, you'd agree with this. On that video, nobody is stabbed until Mr. Mew is punched in the face and knocked in the water, right? You agree with that?
Yeah.
Okay. And so you would agree that the people that are injured with the knife, that all happens after Mr. Mew has been knocked in the water, punched, slapped, pushed, right?
Yes.
Okay. And you don't attack Mr. Mew, do you?
No.
Okay. And he doesn't do anything to you, does he?
No.
It's all types of things.
Mr. Smithstone?
Exhibit 3.
That was a great cross by Erin's boyfriend.
So Ryan, this Tropathy has asked you about Mr. Mew walking away from your group of tubes after he had run up on you.
Yes.
Did he walk downriver or upriver?
Back up towards that other group that.
I'm asking about when he first stepped away.
Downriver.
All right, and is that the direction your tubes were going?
Yeah.
So he was between you and the exit?
Yes.
You had indicated that you were holding on to the tubes. You didn't want to lose the tubes, obviously.
Yes.
You paid money for them. Was the natural flow of the river carrying your tubes towards him?
Yes.
A lot of questions about your memory. You do recall giving your statements to the police, right?
Yes.
And would it be fair to say that this has been so long now that your statements to police were given when your memory was probably a little fresher than it is right now?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Is your memory better now? Mr. Tropathy had asked you if your memory is better now than it was back then.
Yes.
All right. Do you think that you remembered things better when you first talked to the police or now, or the same? I think you said the same. Earlier.
Probably the same, yeah.
All right. Do you recall talking to the officers about the names that you'd called Mr. Mew?
No.
All right. You might have done that.
Maybe.
But it refresh your memory to see a portion or hear a portion of what you told the officers with regard to calling him a pedophile?
Sure.
And the point is, Mr. Teroffice, he asked you why you left out the fact that you called him a pedophile. Do you remember that? In fact, you didn't leave that out? Your Honor, can I approach the witness to show him a digital copy of the transcript of his interview with Investigator Dittman? It's a transcript that was provided by Mr. Nelson.
For what purpose?
To refresh his memory as to what he told Investigator Dittman about what they were calling Mr. Mew at the time.
You say had trouble remembering? I lost that. You did.
Mr. Teroffice indicated that Mr. Nelson, Ryan Nelson, did not tell police that they were calling him a pedophile, which I intend to refresh his memory to show that he did tell the police that at the time, immediately after the incident.
Any objection?
If he needs his memory refreshed, he can do that. Judge, I don't know if I missed it either. So,
yeah, I'm not hearing the magic words. Is I guess what I'm driving at. That this is going to help him refresh his memory.
It's 2 sentences.
I think you're missing the point.
All right. I'll move on, Your Honor. Is it possible that you told Officer Dittman or Investigator Dittman something back then that you don't remember now?
Yes.
And it would being able to see a transcript of what you said refresh your memory as to what you told them?
Yes.
Now can I do it, Your Honor?
On what issue?
I don't know. Sustained. Objection sustained.
Can we approach, Judge?
Yes.
This judge does not mess about. He's not messing about. He's like, why are you showing him that? Give me a reason. He is very strict, Darren. Very, very strict. I'm not hating it, though. Normally, judges are like, yeah, do whatever you want. He's like, why? I prefer someone that's questioning a lot. To me, it's good that he's questioning. Why do you need to refresh his memory? For what purpose? Because, Judge, we didn't train him enough. We didn't train him enough about this. We didn't expect that question, Judge. So we need to refresh his memory. This wasn't in the playbook. Not allowing bullshit. So far. Yeah, so far. No judge is perfect, but I like this call. I like it. I mean, he's going to be fair on both sides. I mean, so the defense are going to get the same treatment. So we just got to remember that. If he's fair at this across the board, I don't mind it. He's lost a hell of a lot of weight, though, Nikolai has. Nick's lost a ton of weight. Just looking from the back, like he looks super thin. Oh, Barber's cut his hair as well. Jesus. He said he remembered everything the same. Alicia, spot on.
All right, let's continue. Mr. Smestad.
Ryan, do you remember telling an officer what kind of names you were calling Mr. Mew at the time?
No.
All right, and if I approach Ryan? He's indicated he doesn't remember.
You have to ask him what will help him remember.
But if you saw a transcript of your interview with Investigator Dittman, would that help you remember?
Oh, yes.
Now you can approach.
Showing your digital copy of the transcript and just read the highlighted portion.
No.
Don't read it all out, read it to yourself. That help you remember what you told the investigator, did that?
Yes.
What did you tell him about the things you recall? I guess you recruited?
I said we were all calling him a pedophile and saying this is weird and he needs to get out of here.
So that wasn't was that information you were trying to keep from the police?
No.
At that point, were you aware that there had been a video made by John Cockfield of the incident?
Yes.
Were you aware that the police had it?
Yes.
At the time that Mr. Mew ran up and grabbed onto your tubes, did he grab them in an area where some of your friends had their legs positioned?
Objection leading.
Sustained.
Where did he grab your tubes?
Where we were sitting?
Were there people in those areas?
Yes.
What parts of their bodies, if any, were close to where he grabbed?
Legs.
Did you know whether or not he was trying to grab onto their legs?
Objection, speculation.
Sustained.
Mr. Chirafisi had asked you about someone in your group saying you got 10 seconds. Do you know who that was directed at?
No.
You know who said it?
No.
Did you hear it on the video when he played it for you twice?
Yes.
Did you hear Mr. Mew being described as the person who had 10 seconds?
No.
Mr. Chirafisi had asked you about whether you had less fear of Mr. Mew once the other folks came up. Why did you have less fear?
I believe they were going to help us and help us get him away.
Were these other folks kids or adults?
Young adults.
After the blonde woman, Madison Cohen, is punched, did you take the time to check to see if she had any injuries to her face?
No.
You've seen the video of the incident here today?
Yes.
You had indicated earlier, I think, that everything sort of happened right after that, right?
Yes.
Did you see where Madison Cohen ended up going after
No.
she was punched? You
No.
didn't? Did you, it indicated that you thought she fell down, and then on cross-examination, you said that she may have just stumbled backwards. Do you remember specifically whether she fell or stumbled backwards?
No.
But as you sit here today, is that what your impression of what happened was at the time?
Yes.
Mr. Dropsy had asked you about Madison Cohen, the blonde woman, being in Mr. Mew's face. I'm going to show you a slide. Still, it is number 2593.
Tell us when you're ready.
Ready? Do you see that still frame from the video?
Yes.
Is this what you were referring to?
Yes.
Is that where she was located when he punched her?
I believe so.
Do you remember where you were in relation to this photo off screen at that time?
To the left side of the women, the right side of Mr. Mew.
When she was punched, did you hear an impact?
Yes.
When you gave your two statements to the police, both one at the riverbank and one at the hospital, did you tell them that he had punched her?
Yes.
Nothing further.
Mr. Shofsky?
We would agree that when Mr. Mew moved over to go talk to Madison Cohen, you could have all just went right by.
Yes.
But you stayed, right?
Yep.
And you were asked about just the 10 seconds, right? You got 10 seconds.
Yes.
You didn't believe that was directed at you, did you?
I didn't hear it.
Okay. Would it make sense to you that it would be directed at Mr. Mew based on what was happening?
I'm not sure. I don't know who said it.
And you said that your fear was reduced once more people came. Is that right?
Yes.
Okay. So tell me if this is fair. When it was the 6 of you, you had, according to you, some level of fear. When it became 13, you didn't have any fear.
I had less fear, yes.
Okay. And you knew through this whole thing he was alone, right?
Yes.
Okay. So at one point, you know it's 13 versus 1. Yes?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you said that you remember Ms. Cohen falling, and now you think that might be incorrect. Is that true?
Falling or stumbling.
The blonde, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That you say she was punched and she fell.
Some sort of falling or stumbling motion, yes. I believe that's true.
Okay. You'd agree that she never dropped her drink in that picture, right?
Yeah.
And her phone doesn't leave her body, right?
Yeah.
Mr. Nelson, I appreciate your time today.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Nelson. You can step down. Is he released from his subpoena? No? Okay. Is there a coordinator here that can assist him? All right. She'll give you further instructions about what to do and where to go. Please leave the exhibit with the attorney.
All right, move for the admission of 62.
Any objection? 62 is received. Are there other exhibits that need to be addressed?
25 plus 25 admitted.
Yes.
We're waiting for some foundation on 27.
All right. Members of the jury, it's 4:30, so we're going to break for the day. In a moment, the bailiffs will take you out. I do have a few instructions for you before you leave. One, no discussion about this case with others, not amongst yourselves, not with the lawyers, not with the members of the public, not with the media. Do not talk about the case when you get home. I know it's going to be tough, but you have to decide this case only on the evidence presented at trial, and you cannot be influenced by others. Second instruction, no independent research or investigation. Do not go to the internet to look up things that you think may be helpful. Do not visit the site. Do not look at maps. Again, the attorneys have to present the evidence for you to decide here in the courtroom. Third, do not watch or read any media reports or social media posts about the trial. Frankly, you're getting a front row seat to this entire trial. Anything that you see on the internet could be misleading. The final instruction is come back tomorrow morning. We need you all at 8 o'clock before we can get started. The bailiff will give you new directions about the entrance. You're not going to come in the main door. There's a new door that you're going to come in. He will give you the instructions about where that door is. There's also special parking for you in the morning. Please use it so that you are segregated from the rest of the public. Please take the jury out.
All rise for the jury.
First, could you move the easel out of the way? Thank you.
He's in jail, Alicia. He's in jail. His bond was set at $1 million. So no, he's still in jail.
Please be seated. All right, we're outside the presence of the jury. The attorneys are present with Mr. Mew. Mr. Mew, is there anything for the record, Mr. Anderson?
Yes. Tomorrow, there was a number of witnesses who were properly served out-of-state witnesses through the interstate subpoena process. They wouldn't, I think there's 6 that wouldn't meet with us. So we expected them here at 8 a.m. today. They were not here today. So victim witness reached out to them and essentially said, if you're not here tomorrow, there might be a warrant issued. So my understanding is most, if not all of them by now have agreed to come here at 8 a.m. tomorrow. I don't think we're going to be ready for them by 8 a.m. tomorrow, but because they wouldn't meet with us, weren't here yesterday when they're, or today, sorry, when they're subpoenaed. My request would be, rather than, I mean, Your Honor could tell them to just wait here every day, or bring them in outside the presence of the jury, stress the importance of being here when either side asks for them to be here, and inform them of the potential consequences if they don't.
So tell me what you want me to do.
Just, I'd like them to hear from Your Honor that a subpoena is not discretionary. They have to be here. With all of our witnesses, we give them the courtesy of trying to plan when they're going to be here.
Okay.
These people refused to meet with us, so they didn't. So they should have been here yet today. They weren't. So I just like Your Honor to stress, if they're not here when either side tells them to be here, they could get a warrant.
Okay, so they're not going to testify tomorrow. They're going to be scheduled for a different day, and you want me to impress upon them the importance of honoring a subpoena
Yes. All right.
and expect them to come back on a different day.
Yes.
All right.
I know specifically one of them is one we probably won't call, but I know defense will.
Judge, would you consider, I don't care how you do it, making them sign a bail?
I'd have to research it.
I think you can do that. I mean, I'm not telling you what to do, but I think you can do that. And my concern is if you impress upon them the seriousness of it and they don't come back, we're in the middle of this case and 6 or 7 witnesses are missing, some of which I want. So I guess it's just an option.
Yeah, I mean, what is it that you need before you can have them testify? And why not have them testify when they're here?
It's going to result in, I mean, we try to present a linear story to the jury and it'd be out of order then. And I frankly don't want to change how we present the case because witnesses who are supposed to be here aren't here.
I mean, it's your case. You present it how you want. If you're not ready for them tomorrow and they're here, I will do what I can within my power to have them come back on a different day. But if they're not here, your options may be limited.
Yes, understood.
Same with you, Mr. Shraffasi.
Understood. I guess at that point, I would ask that you issue a material witness warrant, though. I wouldn't be as forgiving. So.
All right.
Yeah, if I could.
Yes.
At least Mr. Carlson, if he's here tomorrow, I'm going to serve him with our subpoena as well, and we're not going to release him. I have no reason to believe he's going to come back. So I feel a little bit bad about it, but I'm going to work fast that he stay here until I need him. I have the power to do that, and he's given me no reason to do anything other than that.
He's a Minnesota resident?
Yes, but he's been served by the state.
Right.
But once he's here, I can serve him here in person.
Yes.
Across the state line. So
right.
Both of those things. And then everyone agrees he's a material witness. So.
All right, so we'll cross that bridge tomorrow. Anything else?
No.
Okay, Mr. Shraffasi?
We get maybe off the record, just who are the witnesses for tomorrow?
We can do that in a moment when we go offline here. One thing I just want to comment on is obviously the video and the still frames are going to be an important part to both of your cases. But I am concerned if every witness called is going to be commenting on what they see in the video. Oh, I see this, I see that. The jury is the ones who ultimately get to decide what they see in the video. So to have other witnesses come in and comment strikes me as being more argumentative than anything else. Both of you did it today, but I want that to desist. I want you to desist from doing so. Mr. Nelson.
Obviously, there's different ways to use it.
Yes.
I see a manner in which we use it in the future to impeach them. They
Yes.
say X happened, and we want to show them the video to say not X. So I would assume, I don't want to say free reign, but that's an appropriate use of
Yes.
the video.
Yes. I mean, for example, one question that sticks out of my mind is, I think it was with Mr. Nelson. Do you see somebody else in the video holding up his hands? Do you see anything in his hands? I mean, the jury can see it as well as anybody else. So that's the type of question that I think is going to really slow us down and confuse the jury. If you need to use it for impeachment about their own testimony, that's fair game. If you want to question them about what they're doing and what is being depicted of them in the video, that's fine too. But for witnesses to be commenting on other things that they may happen to see in the video, apart from their recollection, outside of the things I've just described, I think would be a misuse of our time.
Your Honor, one of the issues with that is that particular set of questions, that it's going to come up over and over. That's Isaac Schumann, and he can't testify, obviously. So that's why I asked Mr. Nelson if he had anything in his hands. I can't ask him that. I can't ask Mr. Schumann.
I understand, but we can all see it. It's plain as day.
I assume the same applies for law enforcement. We're not going to ask law enforcement what they see or saw in the video.
Within the confines that I've talked about, right? Right. Because otherwise we're going to have, 40, 50 witnesses providing their interpretation and their opinion about what they think happened. Well, those interpretations and opinions are personal to them, but they're not relevant to what the jury has to decide. So I just want to stick to the facts, stick to the things that this jury is going to be tasked with doing. Okay. All right. That's all. I'll be back tomorrow and ready to go at 8 a.m.
Just yours. Gotta figure.
So, wow, this judge is on it. Right, I got the video as well. Before I play the video, so just background for some of you as well. I mean, Alicia, you said about scared of drowning and stuff. Well, we need to remember as well, this guy has just had is it quadruple heart bypass? Is that how you say it? Quadruple heart bypass a couple of years previously. So he doesn't feel healthy as it is. So can you imagine being around like 13 people? You're scared. Your heart's probably pumping because you're scared. So he's probably a little bit in panic mode there. He might be thinking, Jesus Christ, I'm going to have a heart attack right here. So I hadn't thought about that. That's something to consider as well. Yes, we are. We're on Verdict Watch for it. Yes, we are on Verdict Watch. Right, this video. Oh, before I play the video, the judge I'm not joking, he has now only allowed the witnesses to have one glass of water or one bottle of water in front of them. I'm not sure if he can replenish or what, but it must be only water. And the other thing is, so 8 o'clock start, but it's not an 8 o'clock start. I'll go live at 8, but the doors open at 8 for the audience. So, and they've all got to go through security. So I will still go live at 8 Central, 9 o'clock Eastern, but we might have to wait a little bit. Also, the other part, he's also willing to work Saturdays. If he feels that we're falling behind, he's instructed everybody, his own staff, and both sides to say, I'm prepared to work on a Saturday if I feel like we're falling behind. And as you can see there, he's telling them, don't bullshit, don't say about who's holding what. So that's why he's instructing that. He wants this done by the 12th, and no messing. He wants it done. So that's interesting with those 6 witnesses, though, isn't it? What's going to happen there? Right, are we ready? I'll play this a few times. I'm not sure if I can slow it down.
To a man you've never met before, have no information about. People in your group are yelling on the river that he's not. Yes? And by your own admission, you believe that draws the attention of another group of people to come over. Yes. And do you remember independently? I know you've seen.
Shit. I recorded it whilst the other thing was on, so.
And she, to your recollection. can see, she doesn't wait to find out what's actually happening either, does she? She jumps into this and is yelling for Mr. Mew to go without knowing anything about what had happened based on.
He doesn't have a knife there.
Right. She was close to him, right in front of him.
Okay, so I won't invade your space, but what in your definition of getting in someone's face is getting. Yeah. Okay. And is it in part based on the volume of her voice too?
Yeah.
Okay. So
Just in there, yeah.
What you observed is this woman.
Bang, through them. Slapped him there. Going after him there, pushing him there. I'm going to have to watch this again. So he's pushed there, right. Slapped there. Right. So, yeah. So I think, so Alicia, this is when it happened, right? So he's shoved. Once he's shoved down, right, he's shoved down there, right? Shoved, 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 shoved. Look, so that guy with the yellow trunks, right? He's there pushing him and all that. He must have grabbed his knife now whilst he was in the water. Like, you see there, because what happens next is this. So guy in the yellow shorts is there now. So whilst he was shoving him down, that's when he got it out. So he's on his back in the water. That guy came in and shoved him, and he just took his knife and just. That's how I've seen it. That's how I've seen it. Then everyone goes hysterical then and stuff like that. And this part doesn't really matter because it's gone. The key parts are from about here when they go after him. He's walking away. They're all abusing him. And you see these women get involved. So currently he's got nothing in his hands. Nothing. He's waving to his friends. They're in his face. She touches him, pushes him. Something in his face. Shoves him. Right, yellow shorts is here. Orange shorts here. Orange shorts is here. You can see his leg there. So now we need to look at it. He's on his back. He's kicked, pushed there. They're pushing him down, pushed him down. He gets his knife out, and that's when he stabs him. That's when he stabs him. He comes after him again, pushes him, and he's like, in all, I'm not trying to belittle it, but in all seriousness, he's on his way down. So actually, he might have the knife in his hand, and the guy's jumped on him. Now you see, neck shoves him back. He's down there. Now I don't know about the rest of it. Do you know what I mean? But we've seen clearly where orange shorts guy came in from nowhere, pushed him, and then it's quite clear. Quite clear. And then obviously plays on. I can't play the audio because he recorded the audio, so I'll do it fresh tomorrow on that one. I'll record it overnight now to have a fresh perspective tomorrow. But yeah, so it's a weird one. I think you can clearly see he was, even when you stabbed him, he was falling over because the guy was pushing him. Anyway, we'll check it tomorrow. I'll record it properly tonight again without the other audio on it, and we'll play it tomorrow. I totally agree. I don't think you're on a rampage. I think the next guy comes over, puts his hands on his neck, and pushes him back. He's got a knife in his hand. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's a slam dunk self-defense. The girl probably did. She was all over him. There's 3 people all over him, kicking him, pushing him. Yeah. Yeah, I don't see what else we see. I mean, I think if this is not self-defense, obviously you wish they didn't have a knife, but I generally don't know what's going to happen without a knife, without some sort of weapon. Do you know what I mean? I generally don't know what would have happened. But anyway, whatever. I'll clean it out. I'll clean it tonight, and I'll get another thing on it. Nobody yet. Nobody. Just one question. That's all that's been today so far. One question, but no verdict. Oh shit, that's close. Yeah, just the one question. No, I agree. Then Keller pick it. Well, I'll go through it tomorrow as well. I'll play the video, so go through it, but I'll play it again tomorrow. I can't play the audio because dummy of me forgot that the court audio was recording over it. Self-defense for me, I agree. And I never was someone that I want to hear everything normally. Not this time. That video is everything. That video slam dunk for me. Not guilty. And you're not going to change my mind on it because normally we go to court and you get all these witnesses stating stuff. The difference is, right, we have a video. We are able to make our own minds up. So, we'll take that off. We can all make our own minds up, and that's the beauty of all this. By what you see in that video, I see exactly when that guy got stabbed, and he was over the top of him twice, lunging. You got a knife, you got to protect yourself. There's 3 people on him. What's he supposed to do? Like, genuinely, what's he supposed to do? Just go, okay, attack me, fuck it. You just had quadruple heart bypass, for fuck's sakes. He probably thinks he's going to be dead. He probably thinks he's going to die there. So I generally think this is self-defense. I don't even think it's like it's going to take a mountain, another video, another angle. I'm with you, Alicia. I'm with you. Oh, that's what I said. That's what I mean. Sorry, guys. I'm jumping stuff here. We're all witnesses. This is what I mean. Normally, you don't get a video. Daddy says not guilty this time. Daddy's on the same page this time. Daddy's on the same page. It's fine. I think they will be found guilty. So, okay. Right. Well, I will re-record that tonight. We'll play it tomorrow, first thing, 8 o'clock Central. We'll be back, 9 o'clock Eastern. We'll be back. It won't be. You're assuming they would hurt him. We don't know. I'm sorry, Linda. I'm sorry. And you're entitled to your opinions, Linda. But I mean, if you're stating that them punching him, shoving him on the floor, re-shoving him, putting their hands on his neck is not them trying to hurt him, we're watching different video. If there's ever a case of an easy self-defense, this is it. You cannot put your hands on someone's throat and throw them back. You cannot shove people down. You can't do that anyway. But you can't shove people down in water and stuff and punch them and all sorts of, that's intentional. So, and yeah, did they hurt him? Fucking right, they hurt him. Do you know what I mean? So that's my opinion, Linda. Obviously, you're entitled to your own. We all watch the video. We can all say what we want from it. But I respectfully disagree with you. I think that was intent on hurting him. Right. All respect to you, I think we don't know. I think the video doesn't lie. So, I mean, if you're putting hands on somebody, I don't know what would cause, as in, I don't know. How else do you hurt somebody? Jury decide and we respect the decision. I mean, yeah, we have to respect the decision. But yeah, absolutely. I mean, if putting hands on somebody's throat isn't causing hurt, I don't know what is. But anyway, so there we are. Right, I'm going to switch off, re-record this now then. And yeah, go to Branca. I think he's still watching it now. Right, everybody, take care of yourselves. Love you as always. Thanks again, Mifta, for the gifted membership. And thank you, Shelley, for the membership on Buy Me Coffee and the coffees as well. So appreciate you all. See you all 8 o'clock Central, 9 o'clock Eastern tomorrow. Hopefully they start on time. I think they will. But they might be a little bit late because of security. But with that, peace out. Free Zach Branson.